Chapter 663. Being in the entertainment industry, one had to face all kinds of temptations. Money, fame, beauty. Very few people could completely control themselves, and there were countless people who fell into it. Since Lu Chen's debut, he had experienced all kinds of temptations. If he hadn't been careful with his words and actions, the things he encountered would have been several times or even more than 10 times more. For an extremely popular star like Lu Chen who wasn't married, he was undoubtedly a golden diamond in the circle. It was normal for him to attract the attention of women. As long as he was willing, it wasn't a problem for him to play with as many women as he wanted. Some artists were like this. They didn't care about meat or vegetables, and they would also create some scandals to increase their popularity. As long as they were unmarried, public opinion was usually very tolerant, and everyone was used to it. Jean Jinna was very young and very beautiful. She had an exotic charm, and her hints were very obvious. Any man would be moved, and Lu Chen was no exception. But Lu Chen was different from others. He had his own beliefs and persistence, and he had his own people that he cherished. Therefore, he declined Jean Jinna. Not to mention emotional matters, Lu Chen also didn't like to bring his private life into work. If something really happened between him and the other party, it would be equivalent to planting a bomb in the crew. Jean Jinna obviously didn't expect Lu Chen to refuse so readily, as if he didn't think about it at all. This made her, who was used to being successful in front of men, very surprised, and she couldn't help but be stunned. Lu Chen smiled and shook the mineral water in his hand. Also, thank you for the water. This was the meaning of asking the guest to leave. But Jean Jinna was very unwilling and wanted to try again. Teacher Lu Chen, Brother Lu Chen. At this time, a clear and moving voice suddenly came from behind Lu Chen. Lu Chen couldn't help but turn his head and suddenly smiled. Xiao Chu. It was none other than Mu Xiaochu. Mu Xiaochu wasn't on the set of You, the Star, so she was there to visit. Today's weather was hot, and she wore a short-sleeved cartoon t-shirt and denim shorts. Her pair of fair, jade-like long legs dazzled people's eyes. Her long hair fluttered in the wind and her sweet smile made her look like a beautiful girl who just walked out of school. Compared to Jean Jinna, Mu Xiaochu wasn't as sexy and alluring, but she was pure and cute. Her purity made the former pale in comparison. Lu Chen stood up and asked with a smile, "Why are you here?" With his hands behind his back, Mu Xiaochu ran up to him with a smile and said, "I'm off today, and then I heard from Sister Fei, that you're filming at my school, so I came over to play host." Lu Chen suddenly understood. Mu Xiaochu is a student of Beijing Institute of Foreign Languages. When she participated in Singing China, she was still a freshman. Although she later signed with Flying Stone Records, she did not leave school completely. So, it's not wrong for her to say that she is the host. Lu Chen said with a smile, "Well, lunch is on you." "I'll treat you," Mu Xiaochu said straightforwardly. "I know where there's delicious food nearby." Lu Chen waved his hand and said, "Let's go." He nodded to Jean Jinna, then gave a few instructions to his assistant, and followed Mu Xiaochu out to look for food. Jean Jinna looked at the back of the two of them and bit her lip hard. "This woman must be trying to seduce you." Walking on the campus boulevard, Mu Xiaochu said to Lu Chen very seriously, "Brother Lu Chen, you have to be careful." Lu Chen didn't know whether to laugh or cry. What seduce? Children shouldn't talk nonsense. "I'm not a child." Mu Xiaochu wrinkled her nose and muttered, "I can see that she's up to no good." Lu Chen shook his head with a smile and didn't argue with her. Mu Xiaochu must be concerned about him, and she's really a big girl now. "Where are you going to take me?" Although he had asked his assistant to inform the director, the lunch break wasn't long. He couldn't go far and let so many people wait for him to come back. The place where Mu Xiaochu took Lu Chen to eat was in an alley outside the Beijing Institute of Foreign Languages. This rather old alley was undoubtedly a food street. On both sides of the road were small restaurants, milk tea shops, and cafes. They were doing business for students. However, because it was summer vacation, there weren't many customers at lunchtime. Mu Xiaochu took Lu Qin to a small restaurant. After finding a place to sit down, she smiled and said to Lu Qin, "When I used to study, I often came to this restaurant with my classmates to eat. This restaurant's soy sauce beef, sanxian noodles, and egg fried rice are all very good." Lu Qin nodded. "Then I'll have all of them. I feel like I can swallow a cow now." Mu Xiaochu pursed her lips and smiled, and called the proprietress to come over to order. Then the proprietress recognized both Lu Qin and Mu Xiaochu. She was so excited that her hands holding the menu were trembling. After ordering, she happily asked the two to sign. She knew Mu Xiaochu not because she was a member of MSN, the most popular girl group in China, but because she was a regular customer. As for Lu Qin, it was because the proprietress had watched Autumn in My Heart and Full of Romance. She was a fan of Lu Qin. Fortunately, there were not many customers in the restaurant, otherwise it would be more troublesome. Mu Xiaochu's recommendation was very good. Although this restaurant was small and there was no decoration inside, the environment and food were clean, and several dishes and noodles were very good. Especially the soy sauce beef, which was cut into thin slices and melted in the mouth. The meat was fragrant and tasty. Lu Qin ate a whole plate in one go. Sanxian noodles and egg fried rice were also very delicious. He exercised a lot every day and ate a lot, so he ate very well. And it wasn't too late for Mu Xiaochu to eat half a bowl of noodles. She spent more time watching Lu Qin eat. Lu Qin said with a smile, "You should also eat more. Don't just think about keeping your figure. Your body's nutrition should also keep up." Mu Xiaochu nodded obediently, lowered her head and ate another bowl of noodles. After a while, she asked hesitantly, "Brother Lu Qin, are you free the night after tomorrow?" "The night after tomorrow?" Lu Qin thought about it carefully and said, "I should be free, unless it's a last-minute addition." He asked, "What's wrong?" Mu Xiaochu said shyly, "I have a fan meeting the day after tomorrow. The company arranged it. Brother Lu Qin, can you?" Lu Qin nodded and said, "Of course, no problem. Where is it held?" "I will be there." He regarded Mu Xiaochu as his sister. It was reasonable for him to support his sister's fan meeting. Mu Xiaochu smiled like a flower. "That's great." Lu Qin smiled and reached out his hand to remove the noodle stuck to the corner of her mouth. Mu Xiaochu was stunned at first, and then a touch of red appeared on her pretty face. Chapter 664. On August 5th, Waves blog's famous Big V, Entertainment's #1 paparazzi Zhang Wide, posted on his blog, saying that he was about to have some breaking news and asked his fans to look forward to it. This #1 paparazzi was very famous in the circle. Although he was not a senior figure in the domestic paparazzi industry, he had been in the industry for more than 10 years. He had repeatedly exposed shocking news and became the focus of public opinion several times. For example, Jinling Film City Brawl, famous actress Lin Xiaoxiao's affair, etc., were all written by this paparazzi Zhang. There were at least dozens of scandals exposed by him. Excluding a few deliberately hyped up, Zhang Wide's name also made many people in the circle change their expressions. He was very good at stalking and secretly taking photos, and his studio had a group of experienced paparazzi, which was often impossible to guard against. For public figures such as celebrities, the general public actually had an interest in prying into their privacy. Perhaps the fans of the celebrities who were exposed would yell at the exposed person, but more people would just watch the fun and gloat. This was also one of the bad habits of humans. Therefore, this Entertainment's #1 paparazzi Zhang Wide had 5.8 million fans on Waves blog, and his blog was quite eye-catching. Zhang Wide, who was familiar with him, knew that since he had released such a notice, there must be something going on. He just didn't know which celebrity was unlucky enough to be secretly photographed. Onlookers commented under his blog. Blogger is as productive as a sow. Everyone, let's take a guess. Which celebrity was exposed this time? Who can guess it? There are so many hot celebrities. Move a stool and watch. Selling melon seeds, peanut soda, and beef with honeydew. Wait. Paparazzi Zhang's job was to make a living. Of course, he would not let his fans down. That night, he really broke the news. Lu Chen secretly met Mu Xiaochu outside Beijing, had lunch together, behaved intimately. Sister or new girlfriend? Under the shocking title, 7 photos were posted, which were obviously carefully selected. From Lu Chen and Mu Xiaochu coming out of Beijing Foreign Languages Institute together to eating together in an alley restaurant. Among them, the most eye-catching was undoubtedly a photo of Lu Chen helping Mu Xiaochu remove the pieces of noodles stuck on his face. It was not an exaggeration to say that they behaved intimately. Lu Chen cheated on her. As soon as the news of the #1 paparazzi in the entertainment circle, Zhang Wide, came out, it immediately caused a sensation on the internet. Countless netizens forwarded and commented on it, and it was quickly passed on to various posts and forums. Lu Chen was recognized as a good man in the entertainment circle. He had been in love with Chen Feier for 2 years and was regarded as the best couple in the entertainment circle. If something went wrong in their relationship, it would be a big deal. Especially now that Lu Chen and Chen Feier were involved in the production of China's Top Voice. It was so popular that they had started filming the highly anticipated new drama You from the Star. Who would have thought that there would be a scandal? If the two really fell out and broke up, would You from the Star still be filmed? Whether it was Lu Chen, Chen Feier, or Mu Xiaochu's fans, they were the first to not believe it. Because Lu Chen and Mu Xiaochu had a good relationship. The two met before Chen Feier. Everyone knew that Lu Chen treated Mu Xiaochu as a sister. Therefore, the photos that were exposed were not convincing. What was wrong with the two behaving intimately? However, there were many netizens who did not think so. They thought that the photo was too ambiguous, and it was too far-fetched to say that they were good friends. Some anti-fans even took the opportunity to stir up trouble. As the protagonist of the scandal, Lu Chen only found out about it when he received a call from Lu Shi at home. Me and Xiaochu. Lu Chen was stunned and couldn't believe it. Scandal? What the hell? It was really a living ghost. How could he and Mu Xiaochu have a scandal? The relationship between the two had always been very good. There had been media hype in the past, but it was all nonsense and didn't set off any waves. How could it suddenly spread on the internet now? Lu Shi said angrily, "Go online and see for yourself." To be honest, these photos of you that were secretly taken are really easy to misunderstand. You'd better be careful in the future. There are so many paparazzi. Take a look first, and then we'll discuss what kind of announcement to make. Lu Chen hung up the phone speechlessly. Chen Feier happened to come in with brewed coffee and heard a few words of the conversation between Lu Chen and his sister. He couldn't help but ask curiously, what happened? She had recently fallen in love with making coffee. She also bought coffee grinding utensils and coffee ingredients from abroad, and often made coffee for Lu Chen to drink. Lu Chen smiled bitterly and said, "There's a scandal between me and Xiaochu. It's probably because she came to visit me yesterday and was secretly photographed." Chen Feier couldn't help but laugh. She put the coffee cup on the desk and said with a smile, "Go on the blog and see what they say about you." Yesterday, Chen Feier didn't have any scenes, so she didn't stay in the crew. Instead, she went out for an important announcement. But she knew that Mu Xiaochu came to visit her, because Mu Xiaochu called her first. Lu Chen couldn't complain about his girlfriend's enthusiasm, so he opened the browser and logged into his Waves blog. The matter was really big. He was mentioned tens of thousands of times on the blog. Following the traces, he quickly found the blog post of the #1 paparazzi in the entertainment circle, Zhang Wide. It's really this guy. Chen Feier had been in the entertainment circle for more than 10 years. How could she not know paparazzi Zhang? She said disdainfully, I guess it's him. When she saw the photo, which was regarded as important evidence, her eyes suddenly lit up. Hey, you two really have something going on. I'm going to be jealous. Lu Chen didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He reached out and put his arms around Chen Feier's waist and held her in his arms. He said, you know, I treat Xiao Chu as a sister. Chen Feier rolled her eyes at him coquettishly and said, I know, but Xiao Chu may not treat you as a brother. Do you think I can't see it? Lu Chen was suddenly speechless. He was not a fool. How could he not know that Mu Xiaochu had feelings for him? It was just that he had expressed his feelings to the latter a long time ago. There was no misunderstanding. Lu Chen couldn't stop Mu Xiaochu from liking him. He only thought that the relationship between the two would turn into a real friendship over time. That was all. Seeing Lu Chen's silence, Chen Feier couldn't help but feel a trace of heartache. Chen Feier was very clear about how many temptations Lu Chen usually faced, and he had always insisted on their love. No matter what others say, I will always believe in you. She hugged Lu Chen's neck and took the initiative to give him a kiss, as well as her unreserved trust in him. It was not easy to fall in love, and it was even harder to stay together. But Chen Feier had confidence in herself and Lu Chen. Chapter 665. Ring ring. The crisp and melodious ringtone of the mobile phone suddenly rang, waking up Chen Feier, who was intoxicated in the wonderful feeling. She grabbed Lu Chen's big hand that was raging under her dress and said coquettishly, answer the phone. Lu Chen smiled and reluctantly pulled back his hand and picked up the mobile phone on the desk. Xiaochu. It was Mu Xiaochu who called him. Mu Xiaochu's voice was filled with anxiety. Brother Lu Chen, I'm sorry. When Lu Chen got the news, Mu Xiaochu certainly knew about it. Obviously, she didn't want to see such a thing happen. She was afraid that Lu Chen and Chen Fei would misunderstand, so she hurriedly called to explain. Lu Chen said with a smile, you didn't do me wrong. Don't worry about other people's nonsense. We can clarify it ourselves. To be honest, even if there was a lot of hype on the internet, it wouldn't have much impact on him. After all, it wasn't the kind of photos that were taken secretly in bed with irrefutable evidence, and the relationship between the two was very clear to the fans. Lu Chen's fans affectionately called Mu Xiaochu Little Sister Xiaochu. She was everyone's sister. Of course, some irresponsible remarks on the internet were really hurtful. So Lu Chen could understand Mu Xiaochu's mood at this time and was willing to support her like a real brother. Give me the phone. Chen Feier, who was lying in Lu Chen's arms, took the phone from him and said to Mu Xiaochu, well, it's okay. Don't worry about it. Haha, did they really say that? It's good that you're used to it. How about you come to our house now and we solve it together? Yes, at home. Okay, we'll wait for you. She hung up the phone. Lu Chen was surprised. You asked Xiaochu to come to our house now? It's already 10 p.m. Chen Feier rolled his eyes at him and said, since something like this has happened, you can't let your little sister Xiaochu be wronged. I have experience in dealing with this. Let me handle it. Lu Chen, Chen Feier turned around and sat up, saying, I'll go prepare the guest room and let her sleep here tonight. Lu Chen hugged her and kissed her, praising, wifey, you are so virtuous. Chen Feier pinched him. By the time Chen Feier had prepared the guest room, Mu Xiaochu had also arrived at their house. Mu Xiaochu had been to Lu Qin and Qin Fei's love nest in Purple Chengyuan once, so he wasn't unfamiliar with it. The place where she lived wasn't far from here. At this moment, the blog post of the #1 paparazzi in the entertainment circle, and the photos he took secretly were still spreading on the internet and quickly made it to the hot list of Waves blogs. Many people who didn't know the truth ran to Lu Chen's blog, some cursing and some mocking. There were also people who ran to MSN blogs to curse. As for Qin Fei's blog, many of them were full of sympathy and support, making it seem as if Lu Qin had really cheated on her. There were also many real fans who desperately refuted the rumors, saying that it was impossible at all. The two were brother and sister good friends, and there was no cheating. There were also fans who scolded this guy on Paparazzi Zhang's blog for making trouble out of nothing and going crazy to become famous. Public opinion was torrential, and the public sentiment on the blog was turbulent, but whether it was Lu Qin, Qin Fei, or the official V of Qin Fei Media, they all remained silent, without any response or explanation. Everyone knew that stars like Lu Qin and Qin Fei had a public relations team behind them. Once there was a problem involving themselves, they would often respond in the first instance. Therefore, this kind of silence gave people the feeling that it was like a tacit agreement, which made the loyal fans anxious. It can't be true, right? Yes, why hasn't there been any response until now? Didn't they see it? That's impossible. It might be true. It would be strange if it was true. Wait a little longer. I hope it's not true. It wasn't until 11:00 in the evening that the silence was finally broken. Qin Fei updated her blog. The content of her blog post was very simple, just 2 words, hee. Then under the 2 words, hee, there was a phone selfie, which was a photo of her and Mu Xiaochu. The two were wearing pajamas and leaning on the bedroom bed together. Mu Xiaochu was leaning against Qin Fei with a shy look, while Qin Fei was holding Mu Xiaochu in one hand and holding the phone in the other, smiling very happily. Under the soft lighting of the bedroom, Qin Fei's beauty and Mu Xiaochu's innocence complemented each other. The two were like a pair of intimate sisters, and the scene was extremely moving. This selfie made the fans and other netizens who paid attention to the scandal explode. What the hell? Is this a bed photo? Lily is the best. So beautiful. Qin Fei is so beautiful, and so is Mu Xiaochu. Ha, poor Qin, I was abandoned just like that. I believe in love again. Hee, let those guys who spread rumors see if their faces are swollen or not. That's the truth. Dispelling rumors was actually a very strenuous and unrewarding task. As the saying goes, it takes a lot of effort to clear up the truth, and the results may not be very good. Because ordinary people often had preconceived habits, it was not easy to change the fact that many people believed in a fact. Qin Fei had been in the entertainment industry for more than 10 years, and she had been involved in scandals more than once or twice, so she was very experienced. She was not in a hurry to explain, but used a more clever method to clarify the truth. This intimate photo easily broke the rumors, and it was also a slap to the faces of those who stirred up trouble and took the opportunity to smear the reputation of the people who stirred up trouble. There was no need to waste a lot of words, and everyone could see clearly for themselves. At the same time, it also gave a little benefit to the fans. The fans really liked it. As if they had obtained a powerful weapon, they immediately launched a counterattack. Many fans once again flooded into the blog of Entertainment World's #1 paparazzi Zhang Wide, and flooded the screen with the words, hee. This was a merciless mockery of paparazzi Zhang. Some fans even added different hee emojis to reply to the post. Entertainment World's #1 paparazzi Zhang Wide had exposed so many times, and it was estimated that this time, he was the most ridiculed. The comments were hundreds of thousands of stories high. Interestingly, the two words, "hehe," actually followed suit and made it to the top of the Waves blog's trending words list. As for the scandal between Lu Chen and Mu Xiaochu, it quickly decreased in popularity and influence among the "hehe" comments. Chapter 666. Get up. Lu Chen knocked on the closed door and said loudly, "The sun is almost shining on your butt." Through the thick door, he could faintly hear the laughter coming from inside. Helplessly shaking his head, Lu Chen returned to the living room. After a full half an hour, Chen Fei, and Mu Xiaochu finally appeared. The latter's face was red. It was unknown whether it was shyness or embarrassment. She didn't dare to look at Lu Chen. Last night, because of the scandal between the two, Mu Xiaochu came over and stayed over. Originally, it was said that Mu Xiaochu would stay in the guest room, but in the end, it was Lu Chen who was chased to the guest room. Chen Fei, dragged Mu Xiaochu to sleep with her and took a rather erotic bed photo and posted it on her blog. Of course, Lu Chen also saw this selfie. He didn't know whether to laugh or cry at Chen Fei's funny behavior. But it was undeniable that her method was too effective. Everyone's attention was suddenly diverted. The rumor of Lu Chen and Mu Xiaochu's affair collapsed, and even the paparazzi Zhang, who broke the news, was scolded. Last night, Lu Chen browsed his blog until 1 o'clock. He was also happily lurking in the fan group using his sock puppet. Wow, it smells so good. The dining table in the dining room was already filled with fragrant breakfast. There was the century egg and lean meat porridge that had just been scooped out of the pressure cooker, the well-fried scallion pancake, toast, and milk. The combination of Chinese and Western flavors was complete. Chen Fei pulled Mu Xiaochu to sit down and praised, "Your cooking is getting better and better. I'll give you a like." The two had lived together for a long time. Although they usually worked outside, when they were together at home, they still liked to buy vegetables and cook by themselves. Chen Fei learned cooking from the hired waitress, and then she took care of lunch and dinner. Breakfast was handed over to Lu Chen, who exercised every morning. Similarly, Lu Chen tried his best to buy his own ingredients instead of buying ready-made breakfast from outside. On the one hand, it was clean and hygienic. On the other hand, it was also the fun and interest of home life. "I called you for a long time." Lu Chen shook his head and said, "The scallion pancake is cold. I'll take it to the microwave." Mu Xiaochu quickly said, "Brother Lu Chen, let me do it." As a result, she was stopped by Chen Fei. "Let him go. Who told him to be careless and let you be implicated in the scandal? It's only right for him to make breakfast for us." With a wry smile, Lu Chen picked up the plate and went into the kitchen to heat it up, but he was very happy in his heart. Chen Fei was his favorite girlfriend, and Mu Xiaochu was a sister-like good friend. Of course, he didn't want to see such a thing cause a grudge between the two and affect their relationship. Although in the process of falling in love, Chen Fei would show a little temper and be jealous from time to time, but when faced with a test, she was still very generous and tolerant. Mutual trust and cherish each other, this relationship can be operated for a long time. After a harmonious breakfast, Lu Chen drove Chen Fei and Mu Xiaochu in person. He first sent the latter back to Flying Stone Records and met Lin Jijia by the way. "You really know how to play." As soon as they met, the deputy general manager and music director of Flying Stone Records teased Chen Fei with a few words. "I was thinking last night, if you, as a sister, bullied Xiaochu, what should I do?" Lin Jijia and Chen Fei were old friends for many years, and they had a very good relationship, so there was no problem in joking. Although it was a joke, in fact, there were real ideas. MSN, which has only been established for less than 2 years, is now the most popular girl group in China. Their albums have exploded in sales, commercial performances have been soft, and advertising endorsements have come in droves. It can be called a cash cow for Flying Stone Records. And Mu Xiaochu was undoubtedly the core figure in MSN, and her popularity was the highest. Most importantly, her relationship with Lu Qin was considered by many people to be an important reason for MSN's popularity. Several of MSN's popular works were all created by Lu Qin. Of course, Lin Jijie was very clear about this. MSN could be said to have been created by him, and it was the success of MSN that made his position in Flying Stone Records unshakable, which was related to his personal interests. So last night, when Lu Qin and Mu Xiaochu broke out in an affair, Lin Jijie was the most nervous. On the one hand, he was worried that Mu Xiaochu's image would be destroyed, and on the other hand, he was worried that there would be a conflict between the three. Fortunately, the worst did not happen. Chen Fei used the most ingenious way to resolve the scandal crisis. And seeing the intimacy between her and Mu Xiaochu, Lin Jijie was even more reassured. Chen Fei said, "I don't have enough time to love her. How can I bully her? Don't worry about it." "Yes, yes, yes," Lin Jijie said with a smile, "I'm relieved." By the way, Xiaochu's new single work, he looked at Lu Qin, and his eyes were full of eagerness and expectation. Less than 2 years after their debut, MSN has released 2 albums in a row, Not Yet Lovers, and Ocean of Love. The total sales combined have exceeded 7 million, and the results were dazzling. However, Flying Stone Records was prepared for danger in times of peace, and would not let MSN lie down on these 2 albums to gnaw at their old capital, so they were already preparing for a 3rd album, as well as concerts and so on. However, considering that the speed of the album was too fast and there was the problem of overdrawing the spending power of the fans, so before that, they would first release 2 singles to transition and maintain the popularity in the later stage. And for these 2 singles, Lu Qin was naturally the first choice to tailor-made for MSN. Lu Qin's creative talent was beyond doubt, and he was already recognized as a golden touch in the circle. However, because he was busy shooting movies and TV series recently, he basically no longer wrote songs for others, except for a few connections. Lu Qin took out the USB flash drive that he had already prepared and handed it to Lin Jijie. Both songs are in it. "That's great." Lin Jijie was overjoyed and quickly took it. He handed it to Mu Xiaochu. "You take it to the teachers, and call Jijie and Xiaotong to study it together first." Normally speaking, when other songwriters submitted their works to MSN, Lin Jijie would first conduct a review. But Lu Qin was definitely an exception. His works didn't need to be reviewed at all. Getting it was a profit. Mu Xiaochu nodded hard with the USB flash drive in her hand and said to Lu Qin with a sweet smile, "Thank you, brother Lu Qin." Then she said to Chen Fei, "Sister Fei, then I'll go first." Chen Fei said with a smile, "Go ahead. We'll contact each other on the phone." Mu Xiaochu and the works were delivered. Lu Qin and Chen Fei said goodbye and left. They still had to go to the film and television city to shoot. Lin Jijie sent the 2 to the door. At the time of parting, he remembered one thing and asked, "Lu Qin, will you participate in the Tianfu Music Festival?" Chapter 667. Tianfu Music Festival is one of the 3 major music festivals in the domestic pop music circle. Its scale is no less than the 72H Grass Music Festival that Lu Qin once participated in, and it is held once every 2 years. This year's Tianfu Music Festival will be held in Tianfu's famous Shushan Park on August 8 and will last for a total of 7 days. As the most dazzling star in Chinese pop music in recent years, Lu Qin received an invitation from the organizers of Tianfu Music Festival a month ago, hoping that he could lead the team to participate. The timing was not very coincidental, because the shooting of You from the Star had already begun, but the crew did not need Lu Qin to be there every day. It was not a problem to squeeze out a day or 2 by plane. Therefore, after careful consideration, Lu Qin decided to take the Nirvana band to Tianfu Music Festival and informed the organizers in advance, and his performance would be arranged on August 8. On August 7th, Lu Qin and 5 members of the Nirvana band took a flight from Eastern Airlines to Tianfu. The company booked a first-class ticket, and sitting next to Lu Qin was Wang Jing. When the plane began to taxi on the runway, she was obviously a little nervous, her face was pale, and she bit her lips. Lu Qin noticed and asked softly, "You rarely fly?" Wang Jing's pretty face showed a touch of blood, nodded and said, "I've flown once before, and I'm a little scared." Lu Qin did not expect that Wang Jing, who was stubborn, had a phobia of flying. If he had known earlier, he would have asked the company to book a high-speed train ticket, but now that the plane was about to take off, it was too late to regret. After thinking about it, Lu Qin said to her, "Don't worry, just get used to it. You'll be fine when you fly." Wang Jing nodded and closed her eyes. But it could be seen that she was still very nervous and did not relax because of Lu Qin's comfort. When the plane suddenly jumped from the runway, the momentary sense of weightlessness made Wang Jing exclaim and subconsciously grab Lu Qin's hand on the armrest. Lu Qin nonchalantly let her grab him. At this moment, a stewardess walked over while holding on to her seat. She bowed and asked, "Sir, how may I help you?" During the plane's takeoff and climb, the stewardess had to sit in her seat like the passengers. However, this stewardess heard Wang Jing scream, so she came over to ask about it. Lu Qin explained, "It's nothing. My friend is just a little nervous. He'll be fine after this." The stewardess nodded, and her eyes suddenly lit up. You are Mr. Lu Qin." She recognized Lu Qin. Lu Qin smiled and said, "Hello." The stewardess blushed and revealed a pleasantly surprised expression. "Hello, if you need anything, please let me know." Lu Qin said, "Thank you." Out of professionalism and safety regulations, the flight attendant didn't ask for an autograph from Lu Qin. However, after returning to her seat, she couldn't help but share her discovery with her colleagues. At this moment, Wang Jing's mood finally relaxed a little. She opened her eyes again and saw that she was holding Lu Qin's hand tightly. She couldn't help but blush and quickly let go. "I'm sorry," Lu Qin smiled and said, "It's nothing. We'll arrive at Tianfu soon. We'll take the high-speed train back." The journey from Beijing to Tianfu was 1,700 kilometers. The flight time was 2.5 hours, which was neither too long nor too short. After adapting to the state of flight, Wang Jing was obviously much better. When they arrived at the destination, Lu Qin took the Nirvana band members to the VIP passage. The person in charge of the reception of the Tianfu Music Festival organizers was already waiting outside the exit. They got on the car and drove all the way to the hotel. The hotel had already been booked, the 5-star Shangri-La Hotel. As an internationally famous high-end hotel chain, Shangri-La is spread all over major cities in China. As the provincial capital of Sichuan, Tianfu is no exception. When they checked into the hotel, it was almost dark. Dinner was eaten in the hotel restaurant. After eating, Lu Qin returned to his room. However, he did not rest. Instead, he gathered Wang Jing and the others together and held a small meeting. 2 songs, are you guys ready? After a long flight, Wang Jing's spirit was obviously a little sluggish, but for Lu Qin's inquiry, she was still full of confidence. We're all ready. Strictly speaking, this Tianfu Music Festival will be the debut of the Nirvana band in the pop music world. This statement sounds bizarre because the Nirvana band has performed many times on formal occasions, but it must be noted that the Nirvana band used to exist as Lu Qin's exclusive band. But this time, the situation is different. The Nirvana band will perform for the first time as a real independent band. This is not to say that the Nirvana band's wings are hard and want to fly by themselves, but when Lu Qin reorganized the band, he made a long-term plan for the Nirvana band. Lu Qin never thought about letting the Nirvana band stand behind him all the time, because his career is all around development. In addition to music, there are also TV, movies and derivative-related work. The most important thing is that Luchin rarely participates in commercial performances, and now he doesn't even have time to hold a solo concert. If the Nirvana band only exists as his exclusive band, then most of their time will be wasted. So at the beginning, Luchin clearly told Wang Jing and others that the road in the future is up to them. And for more than a year after the formation, in addition to the usual training and daily work, the Nirvana band often went to bars or small music salons, starting with covering other people's works, step by step, and gradually maturing. For the Nirvana band, this Tianfu Music Festival will be the best opportunity to prove their efforts and strength. Luchin said with a smile, "Very good, then everyone has an early rest, we will play tomorrow." Everyone left, but Wang Jing stayed alone. She said to Luchin, "Thank you." Wang Jing has a lot to thank Luchin, but she has never thanked Luchin seriously and properly. If it hadn't been for Luchin's help, Nirvana Studios would have closed down long ago, and it was Luchin's acquisition of the studio that allowed her father to get back his hard-earned money. The reorganization of the Nirvana band into the Nirvana band has preserved Wang Jing's music dream and allowed her to continue her beloved career without losing her musical partners and friends. It's just that she didn't know how to thank Luchin. Because Luchin doesn't lack anything. He is so dazzling, an unattainable existence, but she still has to say to him, "Thank you." Chapter 668. Tianfu, Shushan Park Square. Shushan Park was the largest natural park in the Tianfu area. It was also a famous tourist attraction. For tourists, it would be a pity if they didn't visit Shushan Park when they came to Tianfu. Shushan Park was surrounded by bustling commercial areas, such as shopping malls, food festivals, Xingwang Temple, and other crowded places. Therefore, the park was usually very lively with tourists coming and going. At night, the park square was a sea of lights and joy. Many old people would come here to dance square dancing, and young people would do street dancing and skateboarding. Children could be seen everywhere. However, starting from August 6, the Shushan Park Square was temporarily closed. A stage was quickly built on the south side of the square. LED screens, lights, sound, and other equipment were installed one by one. People who were familiar with this scene knew that the biennial Tianfu Music Festival was about to begin. The Tianfu Music Festival was undoubtedly one of the largest music events in the southwest of China. Every year, it attracted a large number of musicians and fans to participate. Its scale was no less than the 72H Grass Music Festival and the Shanghai Music Festival. When people talked about Chinese pop music, they first thought of Beijing, Hong Kong, Taiwan, Shanghai, and other places. These places were undoubtedly the hot spots of pop music, gathering a large number of singers, bands, songwriters, record companies, and so on. Of course, there were also a large number of music bars. When it came to the southwest or the northeast, people couldn't help but feel that it was a barren land of pop music. But in fact, the pop music power of the southwest was not weak. There were also many outstanding talents, as well as many unknown but talented singers and songwriters. The Tianfu Music Festival was the best stage for local musicians to show their strength, so the competition was very fierce every year. Without some commendable ability, there was no hope of standing on the stage. Even if you opportunistically stood on the stage, you would be booed off the stage if you didn't have the ability. The fans in Sichuan all had fiery tempers. On the 7th, Shushan Park welcomed a lot of fans to watch the music festival. Most of those fans who came from afar brought tents and set up camp in the park. This could be regarded as the practice of domestic music festivals. In fact, it followed the habits of foreign music festivals because foreign music festivals were often held in places far away from crowds and often lasted for several days. If the fans didn't bring tents, they could only sleep in the open. For fans who liked music festivals, it was interesting to live on the scene and watch from the beginning to the end. So even if they had the money to live in a nearby 5-star hotel, they would not be willing. At noon on the 8th, the square of Shushan Park was already bustling with people. At least tens of thousands of fans had gathered at the scene, and more people were watching from high places in the park. The temporary camp area that was converted from the parking lot was also full of red and green tents. The Tianfu city government sent a large number of police and security personnel to maintain the order at the scene. Several streets near the park had been under traffic control. Traffic control had been implemented. Ordinary vehicles could only leave. Only vehicles with a special pass could drive into Shushan Road. Lu Qin and the Nirvana band took a business car and arrived at the music festival site at 6 p.m. Lu Qin and the others flew over from Beijing yesterday. This morning, Lu Qin accepted an exclusive interview with Tianfu TV station, and then attended a promotional event for Zhonghua Automobile. In the afternoon, he accepted a joint interview with a number of media, including Tianfu Music radio station. His schedule was full. Therefore, when Lu Qin arrived, the Tianfu Music Festival had already officially kicked off. A gluttonous feast of Chinese pop music was being staged in this 1,000-year-old ancient capital. After arriving at the scene, the group was quickly arranged to enter the backstage rest area by the music festival organizers. "Hello, Teacher Lu Qin." There were already many singers in the backstage. As soon as Lu Qin came in, a thin and tall singer in his 30s greeted him with a smile and took the initiative to extend a warm hand to him. "It's an honor to sing on the same stage with you." "Who's this?" Lu Qin had no impression of the thin and tall singer at all. He could only be sure that he was not one of the people he knew in the circle. But out of politeness, he smiled and shook hands with the other party. "Hello. My name is," as a result, the singer just wanted to introduce himself. He did not expect a large circle of people to surround him, like fans seeing their idol. They rushed to talk to Lu Qin and directly squeezed him out. "Lu Qin. Teacher Lu Qin." Fortunately, several members of the Nirvana band were quick-witted and hurried forward to protect Lu Qin from being overwhelmed. At this time, the singers who gathered around realized that they were too eager, which was both disgraceful and impolite. They stepped back and left enough space. Seeing this, Lu Qin secretly breathed a sigh of relief and said, "Thank you, everyone. I'm also very happy to be able to sing with you at the Tianfu Music Festival, but I'm going to prepare soon, so I can't talk to you more. Please forgive me." His performance with the Nirvana band was scheduled for 7 p.m. The time was not precise, but there was not much time left. After the performance in the evening, Lu Qin will return to Beijing tomorrow, and the Nirvana band will continue to stay to exchange and learn with their peers. Everyone expressed their understanding. They were just excited and lost their manners. In fact, this also reflects Lu Qin's current status in the Chinese pop music world. He is not only an outstanding singer, but also an excellent singer-songwriter. He has conquered his fans with excellent and even classic works. Not only is he an outstanding singer, but he is also an excellent singer and songwriter. He has also conquered the people in the circle. The singers who can appear here are all strong or talented, and these singers also have their own reservations. If it wasn't for Lu Qin, such a scene of fans chasing stars would never have appeared. Of course, some of them may have other purposes, such as making friends with Lu Qin and hoping to get one or two works from Lu Qin, but most of them are out of admiration or even worship for him. And Lu Qin did not put on airs because of this. He was very easygoing and made them feel respected, so even if they had other ideas, they were embarrassed to put them forward here. Lu Qin was able to enter his exclusive lounge smoothly. In this year's Tianfu Music Festival, Lu Qin is undoubtedly the most popular and famous star singer. His treatment is definitely different from others. Chapter 669. Nervous. Lu Qin reached for a bottle of mineral water, unscrewed the cap and handed it to Wang Jing, who was sitting next to him. As the time approached, Wang Jing obviously began to get nervous. Although she tried to act as if nothing had happened, she still couldn't hide it from Lu Chen's eyes and intuition. It was not only Wang Jing who was nervous, but also the other members of the Nirvana band. The bassist Ouyang He's eyes were blank, the keyboardist Wen Yuan's right foot was shaking, and the drummer Yang Xiaoyi clenched his fists. Their unconscious subtle movements fully exposed their inner emotions. But Lu Chen felt strange, because the Nirvana band had followed him on several big stages, they had seen big scenes, and they often went to bars. Their performance experience can be said to be quite rich. How could they have stage fright? In fact, Lu Chen underestimated the significance of the Tianfu Music Festival for the Nirvana band, because this time they will make their debut as a real independent band, which is equivalent to their official debut, which can be said to be extremely important. The establishment of the Nirvana band originated from Wang Jing and her friends out of their love of music, and also with the dream of starlight, dreaming of singing for millions of people like those famous predecessors. Now that their original dream is about to take the most important step, how can they keep calm? After all, they are still young people. Taking the cold mineral water bottle, Wang Jing calmed down first. She took a sip of water, nodded and said, "I'm very nervous. I'm afraid that I'll sing badly. I'll be sorry to you and everyone." Perhaps affected by some kind of emotion, she said all the thoughts in her heart at this moment, without any concealment, and not afraid of Lu Chen or other teammates laughing at her. She really exposed her heart. However, no one laughed. Ouyang He and others listened carefully to Wang Jing's rambling. They didn't know why, but their mood slowly calmed down and they were no longer frightened. This scene made Lu Chen's lips couldn't help but smile. He suddenly realized that this stubborn girl had become mature and had the temperament and preparation to become the soul of a band. Although she was still a little immature, there was no problem for her to walk on stage. As she spoke, Wang Jing's eyes turned red. She reached out to wipe the tears from the corners of her eyes and said with a smile, "I'm really sorry. I made everyone listen to so much." With a faint smile, Lu Chen opened his arms and gently hugged her. "Sister Jing, you can do it." It had nothing to do with love or friendship. It was a show of support from one singer to another. Wang Jing nodded with tears in her eyes. Then, Ouyang He, Wen Yuan, Yang Xiaoyi. They hugged Wang Jing one by one and encouraged each other. At this moment, someone knocked on the lounge's door. A staff member came in and said, "Teacher Lu Chen, it will be your turn soon." Lu Chen replied, "Okay, I got it." He turned his head, stretched out his hand and said, "Come on." Wang Jing and others looked at each other and smiled. They stretched out their hands one after another. Everyone's palms were stacked together. "Come on." The members of the Nirvana band were no longer nervous. Confidence and courage returned to them, facing the new challenges that were coming. At 7:28 p.m., Lu Chen led the Nirvana band to the big stage of the Tianfu Music Festival. It's been a long time. When the spotlight on the stage hit him, the audience of tens of thousands of people all cheered, especially those fans who came specially for Lu Chen, were so excited that they screamed loudly. The news that Lu Chen would lead the Nirvana band to participate in the Tianfu Music Festival on August 8 was posted on his blog on the day the itinerary was confirmed, so his fans knew about it. Recently, Lu Chen first filmed A Chinese Ghost Story, and then participated in the production of The Voice of China. Now he is rushing to shoot You from the Star, and has put the focus of his career on film and television variety shows. His fans inevitably have a feeling of being left out in the cold, because Lu Chen basically does not run any announcements, has no commercial performances, has no new album, and has not held his own solo concert. Even new songs are rarely released, and many fans inevitably feel disappointed. What they like is Lu Chen's melodic, soul-touching works, like his continuous creative inspiration, and even more like his emotional singing. Lu Chen is busy with film and television, and it is undoubtedly this group of loyal fans who are most disappointed. So when everyone learned that Lu Qin was going to participate in the Tianfu Music Festival, a large number of fans came from far away to see Lu Qin sing on the stage. Thank you everyone. Hugging his guitar, Lu Qin spoke into the microphone. This is my third time coming to Heaven's Sanctum. Every time I come here, it's like a new romantic encounter. There's always a new feeling that makes me fall in love with this place. His description made many of the fans present laugh. Lu Qin continued, if one day I am too old to sing, then I want to buy a house here, and then go to the tea house every day to drink tea and play mahjong with others. What he said was not a lie. Tianfu is a very leisurely city. Although it is very big, it does not have the busy pace of a big city. The environment and air are very good, and the cultural quality is high, so it is very livable. Then someone will point to me and say, look. This is Lu Qin. I have heard his songs. He is so old. Laughter and applause sounded at the same time. Lu Qin also laughed. He smiled and said, Tianfu is a beautiful city. There are beautiful scenery, beautiful girls, and the most enthusiastic fans here. This is why I came here. The applause became even louder, especially for the local fans of Tianfu, who clapped even more. Lu Qin's praise for this city made them feel very proud. When the applause slightly subsided, Lu Qin asked, now it is time for me to sing. So I would like to ask everyone, which song do you want me to sing for the first one? A music festival is not a gala. There is no limited program list, not even rehearsals. It all depends on the performance of the singer, and the degree of freedom is very high. The same is true for the works that the singer will sing on stage, which can be completely chosen according to the wishes of the live fans. This is why many singers and fans like to participate in music festivals. The distance between the two sides is shortened to the greatest extent, and the interaction between the two sides is higher, so they can hear each other's most authentic voices. Regarding Lu Qin's question, the fans' response is not unexpected. Chapter 670. Chasing Dreams with a Childlike Heart. The bright time of youth. The brightest star in the night sky. Fly higher. For most singers, there are often only a few or even one really famous works, so it's not difficult for fans to choose. But Lu Qin is undoubtedly not among the majority. He has too many original works. 2 albums have 20 songs, each of which is a fine work, and there is no lack of popular classics. Coupled with singles that have not been included in the album, fans familiar with Lu Qin can casually shout out the names of 20 or 30 of his works. As the saying goes, it's hard to please everyone. It's really difficult to unify opinions. Lu Qin stood on the stage, listening to the shouts from his fans with a smile on his face. After a while, he said, well, I'll sing an old song first, and then a new song. Do you agree? An old song, a new song. That's great. This time, the fans' opinions were instantly unified, agree. They shouted loudly, laughed loudly, and applauded loudly for Lu Qin. To put it bluntly, of the hundreds of singers who participated in the Tianfu Music Festival, only Lu Qin has such a high popularity. Lu Qin nodded, thought for a moment, and then said, since everyone agrees, I'll give you an old song you're familiar with first, The Brightest Star in the Night Sky. The Brightest Star in the Night Sky is undoubtedly one of Lu Qin's representative works. This song was first sung in the finals of Singing China, and he eventually won the championship of Singing China with this work. This is the first championship in Lu Qin's life, so this song has a special meaning for him. After 2 years, The Brightest Star in the Night Sky has not only existed in the fans' memory with the passage of time. On the contrary, this song has been covered by many singers and bands and appeared on various occasions. The brightest star in the night sky, can you hear the loneliness and sigh of the person who looks up to you? The brightest star in the night sky, can you remember the figure that once walked with me and disappeared in the wind? When Lu Chen sang, I pray to have a transparent heart and eyes that will cry, the fans in the audience followed the chorus in unison, and the loud singing echoed over Shushan Park. There was no need for Lu Chen to take the initiative to ask. These fans all took out their mobile phones, or turned on the screen, or turned on the flash, holding them in their hands and waving them. The grand square of Mount Shu Park had become a sea of starlight. At this time, there was no need to talk about the sound effects, singing skills, or live performance. Lu Chen and tens of thousands of fans completed the song, The Brightest Star in the Night Sky, which undoubtedly became the highlight of the first day of the Tianfu Music Festival. Many fixed and mobile cameras were set up in different locations, faithfully recording the scene. From time to time, they would give the audience a close-up, and then broadcast it on the big screen in real time. The experienced cameraman captured a lot of touching scenes. Many fans cried. Among them, a tall boy held his girlfriend tightly in the crowded crowd and sang with tears streaming down his face. I would rather keep all the pain in my heart than forget your eyes. Give me the courage to believe again. Oh, cross the lies and embrace you. Until the last two lines, oh, the brightest star in the night sky, please light me up, the audience cheered thunderously, and all the fans applauded together, pushing the atmosphere of the scene to the climax. Thank you. Lu Chen suddenly took a big step back, then bent down and bowed deeply to all the fans to express his gratitude to them. At that moment, he felt that he had no regrets in his life. Even if he suddenly lost all his wealth, as long as he still had these loyal and enthusiastic fans, it didn't matter at all. Thank fate, thank the fans. Thank you, everyone. The applause was like a tide, wave after wave, as if it would never stop. Standing behind Lu Chen, the members of the Nirvana band all had red faces. The atmosphere at the scene was so fanatical and touching. This was Lu Chen's glorious moment, and they were honored. After a full 4 or 5 minutes, under Lu Chen's constant thanks, the fans' emotions were finally calmed down, allowing the performance of the music festival to continue. The next song, Lu Chen said with a smile, it's a new song I wrote recently, and today is the first time I will sing it. The name of this song is called 10,000 Times of Sadness. I hope you like it. As soon as his voice fell, he stepped forward and stood in front of the microphone again, looking forward, and at the moment when his hand moved to the guitar strings, he opened his mouth and sang, Oh honey, my mind is full of you. Oh, irresistible palpitations, it's hard to breathe. Tonight are you going to miss another night, do you want to hide your last expectations, oh tonight? This song, 10,000 Times of Sadness, began with Lu Chen's playing and singing. He narrated it affectionately, like a lover whispering in the ear, gently touching everyone present, especially the heartstrings of the lovers. Then the climax came very quickly. 10,000 times of sadness. There will still be dreams, I've been waiting for you in the warmest place. It seems that this is the only way, staying in one direction, can't be changed anymore. Every tear is 10,000 lights. Even the darkest places became brighter. I'm looking for your ocean with the surging warmth, I'm destined to be like this. In the shocking melody, in Lu Chen's affectionate singing, the mood of tens of thousands of fans at the scene seemed to be on a roller coaster, sometimes rushing to the sky, sometimes sinking to the bottom. Because no one has heard this song, 10,000 Times of Sadness, it is a completely new song, so no one at the scene can sing along. All everyone can do is listen attentively, for fear of missing every note and every word of the lyrics. The original sound waves in the square became unprecedentedly quiet. Many fans held their breath, and they no longer waved the bright mobile phones in their hands, as if on a pilgrimage. In such an atmosphere, Lu Chen used his valiant and hard guitar strumming, falsetto and transition not to sing the climax of the chorus, to interpret this beautiful and atmospheric work perfectly, and the cooperation of the Nirvana band made the effect of the scene reach a new peak. The stage lights shone on Lu Chen, as if his body was glowing, becoming the unique focus of the audience, and nothing could replace it. Chapter 671. Standing on the stage and letting thousands of people cheer for you, the feeling was incomparably beautiful. Lu Chen enjoyed this feeling very much. As if you are the master of the world, as if the earth revolves around you, as if everything was born for you, incomparable glory. But he did not indulge in the pleasure of this vanity and did not forget his responsibilities. Thank you, everyone. After singing the new song, 10,000 Times of Sorrow, Lu Chen first thanked the enthusiastic fans again, and then he held the guitar with one hand and introduced the members of Nirvana to all the fans present. Also thank Nirvana, thank our guitarist Wang Jing. Wang Jing waved to the audience coolly, and the camera gave her a close-up in time, which immediately caused a cheer from the audience. Beauty. Ouyang He. The bass player, Ouyang He, played a beautiful solo and also won countless applause. Then keyboardist Wen Yuan and drummer Yang Xiaoyi. After introducing the four members of Nirvana, Lu Chen continued, I'm very happy to be able to come to Tianfu today and stand here to share the joy of music with you. So the next one to sing for you is the Nirvana band I just introduced. I believe that they can also bring you the joy of music. Now, please welcome the Nirvana band. He was the first to applaud. When the music sounded, the lights focused on Lu Chen shifted and fell on Wang Jing and the other three. Lu Chen quietly retreated with the guitar in his arms and disappeared from the center of the stage. He gave the stage to Nirvana, who performed as an independent band for the first time. This was Lu Chen's promise to the Nirvana band. It was a plan that had been arranged a long time ago. The Tianfu Music Festival just happened to become an opportunity for the Nirvana band's debut and a new beginning for the band on their musical path. The independent Nirvana band still has 4 members. In addition to bassist Ouyang He, keyboardist Wen Yuan and drummer Yang Xiaoyi, Wang Jing will be the lead singer and guitarist of the band, and also the core of the band. Wang Jing graduated from the composition department of Beijing Conservatory of Music and was once the music director of Nirvana Music Studio. Lu Chen's debut album, You Who Sat Next to Me, was produced by her, and many of the songs in it were arranged by her. In addition to having a good talent in composition/arrangement, Wang Jing also has a very high singing talent. Her voice is quite unique, very recognizable, and belongs to the cold female voice. Therefore, she is fully capable of being the lead singer of Nirvana. However, when Lu Chen left the stage and she stood on the stage as the main character, with thousands of eyes focused on her, Wang Jing still felt her heart beating violently. Lu Chen, who had sung 2 songs in a row, had brought the atmosphere of the scene to its peak and raised the fans' appetite. Any singer who appeared after him would face heavy pressure. It's natural to sing well, but you can't surpass Lu Chen. If you sing poorly, then the picky audience may not give you face, and it's normal to be booed off the stage. Music festival fans are different from concert fans. They have high requirements for music works and singers, and they can't be easily fooled. And now, all the pressure is on Wang Jing. She can't escape, and she can't retreat. She was more nervous than ever. However, at this time, Wang Jing felt a familiar and concerned gaze looking at her. Keen intuition made Wang Jing turn her head, just to see Lu Chen, who had retreated to the edge of the stage, giving her a thumbs up in the shadow. Come on. At this moment, Wang Jing's heart calmed down, and all the tension and irritation disappeared. She turned back and raised her head, with a confident smile on her face, and said into the microphone, Our Love. This is the name of the song, Nirvana's first exclusive work. Memories of a vague childhood, clouds floating in the blue sky. At that time, you said, want to hold hands with me, go to the end of time together. From then on, I dare not look up, as if my sky has lost its color. From that day onwards I forgot to breathe. Tears never cry again. This song, Our Love, is the new song Lu Chen created for Wang Jing and Nirvana. It was written a month ago and has never been publicly released. Wang Jing likes this song very much. After getting Lu Chen's music score, she spent a lot of time rearranging the song and devoted all her energy to practicing. Although For My Love was a love song, it chose a different theme and angle. It jumped out of the sad tone of ordinary love songs and had a gorgeous jazz style. The melody was beautiful and the lyrics were moving. It was definitely a rare masterpiece. When Wang Jing sang the first line of the lyrics, she forgot her nervousness, forgot her pressure, and even forgot where she was. All her emotions were poured into singing this song. Our love will never come back. Until now, I'm still waiting in silence. Our love, I understand, has become your burden. It's just that I can never let it go. The last warmth, the warmth you give. Don't ask if you love me again. Now I want the free sky. She sang passionately and had the urge to cry. Unknowingly, her eyes were wet with tears. And in the thousands of audiences under the stage, the picky and questioning look disappeared from their faces and eyes, replaced by surprise and admiration, as if they had found a treasure that had been covered with dust. Those fans who are familiar with Lu Chen know the Nirvana band, but few people have paid attention to the band, and they can't even name the band members, because the original positioning of the Nirvana band was Lu Chen's accompaniment band. So now that the Nirvana band has suddenly become independent and walked from behind Lu Chen to the front stage, it inevitably makes fans worry. Can they do it? Can they sing well? Will they lose face for Lu Chen? Lu Chen's light is too dazzling. Now, however, no one will doubt that Wang Jing and the Nirvana band easily conquered the fans at the scene with this song, Our Love, letting everyone appreciate the strength and talent of the female lead singer. At this moment, Lu Chen, who personally pushed the Nirvana band to independence, stood on the edge of the stage, standing in the dark shadows, with a sunny smile on his face. It's just that I can't let it go forever, the last warmth, the warmth you give. The Nirvana band is going to succeed. Note, Our Love lyrics, FIR/CIU/composition, FIR. Chapter 672. Last night, in Tianfu Shushan Park Square, I witnessed the birth of a new band. In fact, it is not accurate to say that it was born, because this band called Nirvana has existed for a long time and has a considerable reputation in the circle, because it is Lu Chen's exclusive accompaniment band. However, just last night, after accompanying Lu Chen with 2 songs, the Nirvana band sang their own work, For Our Love, for the first time as an independent band. This song made me get to know the Nirvana band and its lead singer, Wang Jing. A beautiful, strong, clean-cut girl. My trip was worthwhile. The above text comes from a blogger with more than 3 million fans on Wave's blog. The blogger himself is a well-known musician and a columnist, widely known in the circle. He had participated in this year's Tianfu Music Festival as a special guest, and he had written many blog posts for the festival, and this blog post was undoubtedly the longest. In this long blog post, he praised the Nirvana band, which has just completed its debut, with enthusiastic strokes, believing that the Nirvana band is a pop band with a unique temperament and not kitsch. He praised the lead singer Wang Jing even more, making people wonder if the musician took the public relations fee of Chunfei Media. In fact, there is no such thing. In fact, when the live video of Tianfu Music Festival was posted on the internet on the evening of August 8, the focus of fans' discussion was Nirvana's For Our Love, in addition to Lu Chen's new work, 10,000 Times of Sorrow. As the blogger said, this song made fans really know the Nirvana band for the first time, and also know the lead singer of the Nirvana band, Wang Jing. Famous with one song. Whether it is for the Nirvana band or for Wang Jing, these 4 words are appropriate. The singing video of For Our Love was forwarded in large numbers. First of all, it was loved and recommended by Lu Chen's fans, because this song was written by Lu Chen, and the Nirvana band is also signed by Chinfei Media. It belongs to the Real Direct line. At the same time, Lu Chen also grandly recommended the Nirvana band on his blog. As a result, the number of followers of the Nirvana band, which just went online last night, soared from 0 to more than 1 million overnight. Although it did not create a record for the fastest number of followers on Wave's blog to break 1 million, the speed of its popularity is also stunning. This made many people in the industry jealous and envious. There were many bands in the country, but not many of them were famous. Most of the bands were struggling to make ends meet. In order to maintain their lives or achieve their dreams, not many people knew their names. It is really rare for a band to become famous overnight like the Nirvana band. Therefore, there are many people who sourly say that a big tree is a good shade, but whether it is envy or jealousy, today's Nirvana has become one of the new forces in the Chinese music world. Lu Chen's Gold Touch, Star Maker, and other names have also become more resounding in the circle. The day after the first day of the Tianfu Music Festival, Lu Chen quietly returned to Beijing with his assistant. The Nirvana band continued to stay. In addition to communicating with their peers, they will also participate in the retrospective performance on the last day of the music festival, during which there will be media interviews, program invitations, and other activities. Chinfei Media has sent agents and assistants to assist the Nirvana band in their daily affairs. There is only so much that Lu Chen can do for the Nirvana band now. The most important thing for the band to develop in the future is their own efforts and determination. Like a young eagle leaving its nest, it needs to rely on its own strength to fly to the sky. Due to the delay of the plane, Lu Chen arrived in Beijing on the afternoon of the 9th and it was already dark when he got home. Then he found an unexpected guest at home. "Why are you here?" The unexpected guest was Tian. When Lu Chen entered the house, she was wearing an apron and was busy in the kitchen, and there were several dishes on the table outside. Lu Chen was very surprised that Chinfei, his best friend, was not in Hangzhou, but came to his house to cook. Was she too bored? Well, this sentence is not accurate. Tian and Chinfei poked their heads out of the kitchen at the same time. The two were like a pair of intimate sisters. The former smiled and asked, "Can't I come?" Chinfei explained, Tian came to Beijing to talk about cooperation with KGS. KGS. Lu Chen was even more surprised. When did Star Factory and KGS have business dealings? KGS is the third largest TV station in South Korea and has a long-term cooperative relationship with Lu Chen. Lu Chen's first 2 TV series were broadcast on KGS TV and received high ratings. KGS also participated in the production of You from the Star and also recommended a South Korean artist. Now KGS is regarded as a strategic partner of Chinfei Media, but it has no connection with Star Factory Media in Hangzhou. Tian said coquettishly, "There wasn't before, but can't there be now?" Lu Chen surrendered, "There can be." The former beautiful host of Zhedong Satellite TV was very eloquent, and he was not sure that he could win against the other party. To save energy, it was better to sit down and eat something. Lu Chen was already hungry. Not to mention, the dishes that Tian and Chinfei made together in the kitchen were really good. Lu Chen waved his chopsticks and ate heartily. After Chinfei and Tian finished the remaining dishes, they also sat down to eat together. Everyone ate and chatted, and Lu Chen learned what Tian came to Beijing to talk about with KGS. It turned out to be the transfer of the copyright of The Voice of China. Simply put, KGS took a fancy to the popularity potential and program model of The Voice of China, and intended to introduce this reality show to South Korea for production and broadcasting. Because The Voice of China had already registered the copyright of many countries, KGS contacted Star Factory Media. That was why Tian came to Beijing. After Lu Chen understood, he said with a smile, "This is a good thing." Chin Fei Media exported TV series to South Korea, and Star Factory Media exported variety shows. It could be said to be a win-win situation. Of course it's a good thing. Tian raised her left palm and made a cutting motion. This time, I'm going to give the Koreans a good slash. Lu Chin narrowed his eyes. You're ruthless enough, Tian said proudly. Of course, if you're not ruthless, you won't be able to stand firm. Lu Chin was speechless. He seemed to have said this to Tian before. However, it was really a good thing. Chapter 673. After dinner, the task of washing the dishes was completed by Lu Chin. Chen Fei and Tian ran outside to the open balcony to continue chatting. Chen Fei also took out the red sandalwood tea set that had not been used for a long time. After washing it, she boiled it with imported mineral water to make tea. When Lu Chin cleaned the tableware and put it back in the disinfection cabinet to disinfect, he came back just in time to drink tea. Tian had obviously learned Kung Fu tea before. She was able to play all kinds of tricks, such as making a mistake, practicing high, and brushing the face with spring breeze. Moreover, she was also a first-class beauty. She rolled up her sleeves to reveal a pair of crystal jade-like arms. She carried the purple clay teapot and brewed taiguanin, which was very pleasing to the eye. With two beautiful women making tea, Lu Chin was happy to enjoy it. He leaned on the soft and comfortable leisure chair, bathed in the cool night wind, and looked at the bustling scene of the capital. He felt that all his troubles had disappeared without a trace. Chen Fei picked up a cup of freshly brewed tea with both hands and brought it to Lu Chin. She said coquettishly, "Master Lu, this servant has served you tea." Lu Chen's appearance of enjoyment was completely the style of a master. Chen Fei was not happy to see this, so she responded to him. Lu Chin was not afraid. He took the teacup with a smile and took the opportunity to touch Chen Fei's jade-like hand. He smiled lecherously and said, "Good girl, remember to come to my room at night to serve me." This bastard. Chen Fei was angry and amused at the same time. She glared at him and said angrily, "Serve you, big head ghost. I told Tian that I will sleep with her tonight, so you can sleep in the guest room by yourself." Lu Chin was sad. "When you accompanied me to watch the moon, you called me dear. Now that the new is better than the old, you call me big head ghost." Sigh. Chen Fei was stunned. She had seen shameless people, but she had never seen such shameless people. Tian couldn't stand it anymore. "Help, can you two show off your love without me?" "Thank you." Lu Chin chuckled. Unfortunately, in this world, no one knew the joke of Journey to the West. He suddenly wondered if he should make this movie, which was regarded as a classic by countless people in the dream world. Who will Chen Fei play? Zixia Fairy or Bai Jingjing? In any case, it would not be Madame Niu. Hey. Tian saw that Lu Chin was absent-minded and couldn't help but wave her hand in front of his eyes. "What are you thinking about?" Miss Tian was a little dissatisfied with this guy. She and Chen Fei, two beautiful women, were right in front of him. How could he be absent-minded? What was he thinking about? Lu Chin came back to his senses and shook his head with a smile. "Nothing," Tian muttered, "liar." Chen Fei agreed. "Don't even think about it. Tian will stay with us for a few days. She will return to Hangzhou after the negotiation with KGS is over." Lu Chin composed himself and asked, "Have you thought about how to negotiate?" The global copyright of China's Voice was in the hands of Star Factory Media. Both he and Chen Fei held a large amount of shares in Star Factory Media. Therefore, the transfer of the copyright would directly affect their interests. Although the current Lu Qin did not care about money and the money he had earned was more than he could spend in a few lifetimes, that did not mean he was willing to sell the copyright of China's Voice at a low price. The first season of China's Voice had yet to end. The domestic viewership ratings were extremely good and the production of the second season was already on the agenda. KGS seeking to purchase the copyright of China's Voice was undoubtedly the first step for the show to enter the world. The first copyright transfer was equivalent to a benchmark. It was related to future interests, so they had to be careful. When it came to business, Tian became serious. I've made initial contact with KGS. KGS's condition is to sign a 5-year copyright transfer contract. The transfer fee is 500 million won a year, for a total of 2.5 billion won, 500 million won a year, 2.5 billion in 5 years. It sounded like an astronomical figure, but after careful calculation, converting Korean won to national currency, it was only 15 million in 5 years. The price is too low, Lu Qin said without hesitation. Moreover, the copyright term is too long. It's best to sign for 3 years at most. 2 years is the best. KGS had their eyes on China's The Voice and intended to import it into Korea to produce The Voice of Korea. They had good foresight, but it was obvious that they were trying to take advantage of the situation. Although the situation in Korea was different from China, with the market not being as big as China, a year's copyright was only 3 million. That was not much different from cabbages. Lu Qin would rather lose it than sell it off so cheaply. If it were any other media company, selling the copyright to foreign countries, especially Korean TV stations, would be worth bragging about no matter the price. However, it was different for Lu Qin. He would not let the Koreans take advantage of him. That's what I thought too. Tian nodded and said, 5 years is too long, and KGS offer lacks sincerity. However, I'm still discussing the specific price with the negotiation team. Anyway, I can't let myself suffer a loss. Like Lu Qin, Tian was also very confident. Because China's The Voice of Korea was now very popular and the ratings were high. According to the VAM agreement signed between Star Factory Media and Zhejiang Satellite TV Station, the first season of the program brought the company at least 30 million yuan in revenue. With the copyright of the popular program in their hands, Star Factory Media was as stable as Mount Tai. Only others came to ask for it. Zhejiang Satellite TV Station, who had tasted the sweetness, was determined to get the second season. It was possible that the money they could earn would double. She really didn't like the stingy KGS. If it was not for the extraordinary significance of selling the copyright to foreign TV stations, she would not have bothered to come to Beijing to negotiate. My team's suggestion is to sign a VAM agreement like Zhejiang TV Station, but KGS won't agree. Of course, KGS would not agree. The Voice of Korea would be their own production and broadcast. How could they share the benefits of the ratings with Star Factory Media? Lu Qin thought for a moment and said, there's no need for a VAM, but if you can't negotiate with KGS, you can try to contact KBS and MBC. KBS, MBC, and KGS were the 3 major TV stations in South Korea. These 3 wireless TV stations occupied the majority of the market share, mainly broadcasting news, variety, and TV series. In terms of scale, strength, and market share, KGS was weaker than KBS and MBC, but not by much. Originally, KGS introduced 2 TV series from Lu Qin, Autumn in My Heart, and Full House of Romance, both of which had surpassed the 2 competitors in the limelight, so they were particularly interested in Lu Qin's new TV series. KBS and MBC had also contacted Chinfei Media before, so they had a direct channel of communication. If KGS knew that Star Factory Media was working with KBS and MBC, they would definitely be furious. Tian smiled and gave Lu Qin a thumbs up, brilliant. Chapter 674. Toasting to the bright moon, they formed a trio. Today's weather was very good. A bright moon hung high in the night sky. Even the blur of the bustling city couldn't obscure its light. Although it was already past the full moon, it was still so striking. The moonlight was like water, sprinkling on the open-air balcony. Lu Qin was accompanied by a beautiful woman, had good tea to drink, and was also discussing how to plot against KGS. Naturally, he was in a particularly happy mood. Tian, however, couldn't bear to see him so carefree. She rolled her eyes and said to Lu Qin, "You see, the dishes in the evening were cooked by me, and now it's so hard to make tea. You just sit there and enjoy, don't you want to say something?" Lu Qin couldn't help laughing and said, "Then how should I say something?" Tian smiled and said, "Sing a song I've never heard before." Tian had heard from Qin Fei, that when she was at home with Lu Qin had specially sung a new exclusive work for her. When Qin Fei said it, the sweetness on her face and the happiness in her eyes were completely undisguised. At that time, Tian was really envious, even a little jealous. She was very beautiful and had a very good family background. She had many suitors since she was in junior high school. However, Tian had never taken a fancy to any of them. It wasn't that there weren't outstanding people among these suitors. Some were handsome and outstanding, some were talented, and some were successful in their careers. She always felt that none of these suitors really liked her. Then she met Lu Qin. Human feelings were very strange. You would hate those you didn't like for a lifetime. You would never forget those you liked for a lifetime. Or you would suddenly like those you didn't like, and hate those you liked. Tian really knew Lu Qin. It was Lu Qin who saved her from a situation that was almost beyond redemption in time. Recalling the scene at that time, she still had lingering fears. Unexpectedly, Lu Qin, who played the role of a hero, broke into her heart. However, Lu Qin was Qin Fei's boyfriend. Qin Fei was her best friend. Tian would never do something as shameless as snatching her best friend's boyfriend, so she buried this affection deep in her heart and never expressed it to others. She thought that with the passage of time, she would gradually forget these feelings. But now, she couldn't help but want Lu Qin to sing a song for her. Just one would be enough. Then there was nothing to regret. Lu Qin didn't notice the throbbing in Tian's eyes. He readily agreed to the latter's request. Okay. Wasn't it just singing a song? Simple. Thinking about how she had come all the way from Hangzhou to the capital and schemed against KGS for everyone's benefit, why couldn't he satisfy such a small request? Lu Qin got up and took his rosewood guitar from the study, then sat back down. He held the guitar and straightened his back, his fingers stroking the strings. "This song is for our beautiful and lovely Miss Tian. I hope she will like it." Tian's pretty face couldn't help but blush. She couldn't help but turn her head and secretly look at Qin Fei. Qin Fei winked at her playfully. Tian's heart couldn't help but beat wildly. She always felt that her hidden thoughts had been seen through by her best friend. She felt a little guilty. Lu Qin played the prelude without knowing anything. Chasing the sunset barefoot by the railroad, glass bead iron box hero card. Playing rubber band hide under the stone bridge, grandma is sitting in the yard with shoes. Silver apricot flowers on the basket frame in front of the iron gate, is there anyone living in the thatched hut? Playing on the way to school, running water between the ridges of the fields. He played softly and sang softly, without much effort, as if he was telling the story of the past, with memories and nostalgia, making people unconsciously go back in time. The simple and childlike guitar and strings played a sketch of the scene. Listening to this song, it was as if yesterday had happened again. The innocent days of childhood, the fun in the countryside, and the longing and yearning for growing up, one by one, they reappeared in the melody and lyrics. We grow up day by day, the big white rabbit in the sweet dream sticks to the teeth. Also fantasizes about immortal scientists, simple strokes with mud stains on the white wall. We grow up day by day, the 4 seasons pass and the old sycamore sprouts. There are treasures and towers in the sand, a home is built on the bench. Chen Feier and Tian Tian were both fascinated by it. This song was the most typical folk song style of Lu Qin. It was his most popular campus folk song. He created the campus folk style of Chinese pop music, but after the album, You Who Sat Next to Me, the style changed greatly, and his creation turned to light rock and love songs. This made many fans who liked campus folk songs feel very sorry. Now that Lu Qin came up with such a song, how could they not be surprised? Whether it was Chen Feier or Tian Tian, they both liked Lu Qin's folk songs, such as You Who Sat Next to Me, Those Flowers, The Bright Times of Youth, and so on. Chen Feier also covered Those Flowers. Because they liked it, the two listened very carefully and attentively, for fear of missing a line of the lyrics. Lu Qin's singing had a trace of magnetism, and there was a little bit of sadness in the nostalgia. Although his playing and singing skills were mediocre, they still had the magic to touch people's hearts. Let their mood, along with this song, gently drifted in the moonlight, drifting to the unknown distance. Until the end. I thought I was so great, but I didn't dare to hand her the poem I wrote. Little sure didn't dare to hand it to her. The last sentence gave Tian Tian the illusion that what Lu Qin sang was her own heartfelt voice. She almost lost her composure. Wiping away the tears from the corners of her eyes, Tian Tian smiled and clapped her hands. She wrote a poem, but she didn't dare to hand it to him. Lu Qin smiled and said, "Thank you." Chen Feier also applauded and gave Lu Qin a bright smile. After clapping, she reached out and hugged Tian Tian and said, "You can give this song to Tian Tian. She can only sing it to us in the future." Lu Qin said, "Okay." He had too many works to sing. What did it matter if he only sang a few songs for his lover and friends? Tian Tian asked, "What's the name of this song?" Lu Qin replied, "It's called Childhood, the story of our childhood." A very appropriate song title. Tian Tian nodded and said to Chen Feier, "Sister Feier, I'm a little tired. I want to rest early." "Okay," Chen Feier said, "I'll accompany you." The two left together, leaving Lu Qin alone on the balcony. Lu Qin didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He had to clean up the mess and clean up the tea set. After that, he took a shower in the bathroom in the living room and went to bed early. Tomorrow, he had to go to the film city to shoot. Note, childhood lyrics, Tang Ing Fong / composer, Lu Haolin. Chapter 675. Jinling. In the small study room, Chihao picked up the coffee on the computer table and took a sip. Looking at his girlfriend who was sitting next to him and surfing the internet, a feeling called happiness welled up in his heart. His girlfriend noticed it and rolled her eyes at him. "What are you looking at? Don't you recognize me?" Chihao put down the coffee cup with a smile and reached out to hold his girlfriend in his arms. He buried his face in her hair and greedily sniffed the familiar fragrance. He said, "Even now, I still feel like I'm dreaming. I'm afraid that when I open my eyes, you'll disappear, so I have to stare at you." Hearing her boyfriend's affectionate confession, a faint blush appeared on Wang Weiwei's pretty face. The two had known and been in love for 4 months. Recently, they officially lived together and made a lifelong commitment to each other. Chihao's family was very ordinary, but he worked very hard. Relying on his own efforts for several years, he bought a 2-bedroom house in Jinling City with a loan, so that the two of them had a warm nest. A happy future was in sight. After a moment, Wang Weiwei pushed her boyfriend away, sat up straight again and picked up the mouse. She said coquettishly, "You're so annoying. I haven't finished writing this post yet." Chi Hao smiled and was about to say, "I'll help you write it," but he saw Wang Weiwei's expression change. "Huh?" Chi Hao was surprised. "What's wrong?" Wang Weiwei quickly opened a new web page, logged into the Waves blog, and said excitedly, "I just saw someone in the group saying that You from the Star has a trailer." Chi Hao suddenly understood. No wonder his girlfriend was so excited. She had been looking forward to this TV series for a long time. Although it hadn't officially started broadcasting yet, the trailer was released, which could quench some of her thirst. Wang Weiwei was a loyal fan of Lu Qin, and so was Chi Hao. Chi Hao and Wang Weiwei were both members of Lu Chen's Jinling fan club. Speaking of a Mouse and Azure Sea, almost everyone in the fan club knew them. The relationship between the two was also a popular story in the circle. The first time Chi Hao met Wang Weiwei was at a movie event he organized in April of this year. At that time, Chi Hao was crowdfunding in the fan club to watch A Chinese Ghost Story starring Lu Qin. In the movie theater, he met Azure Sea, who was not a stranger, but it was his first time seeing him in person. Chi Hao fell in love with Wang Weiwei at first sight and began to pursue her passionately. In the end, he won her heart. The story of the two was widely spread by the members of the fan club, making a group of single dogs envious, jealous, and hateful. As a result, a vigorous group activity was set off. Needless to say, in the activities organized by the group members, there were quite a few couples who fell in love. Because they have the same hobby and the same idol. Therefore, Chi Hao was really grateful to Lu Qin. If it weren't for Lu Qin, he probably wouldn't have met Wang Weiwei. Fate was so wonderful. In Chi Hao's heart, there was also a small wish that he didn't mention to his girlfriend. That was, he hoped that when the two of them got married, he could invite Lu Qin to be the most distinguished guest. Of course, it would be very difficult to realize this wish. Lu Qin was so popular and had thousands of fans. He couldn't just casually satisfy the wish of a fan. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to do anything and wouldn't even be able to see his fans. Wow! Wang Weiwei's surprised cry woke Chi Hao up. The trailer is really out. Chi Hao's attention was immediately attracted by the picture that appeared on the computer screen. In the video, a cool-looking spaceship rushed towards the blue Earth accompanied by a large number of meteorites. In an instant, it rushed into the atmosphere, and the hull of the spaceship violently rubbed against the air, creating a bright flame. It looked very thrilling. A sci-fi movie. Chi Hao felt that it was incredible. Wasn't You from the Star the finale of Lu Qin and Qin Fei's urban trilogy? How could it be a sci-fi drama? Could it be a romance sci-fi drama? Chi Hao felt that his worldview had been subverted, but just for this opening cinematics alone, he gave it a 7 points. Although it was only a short 10 seconds, it could be seen that the producer had put in a lot of effort. The details of the spaceship were rendered very well, and the whole scene with the soundtrack made it feel like watching a Hollywood blockbuster. Of course, there was still a long way to go before it was at the level of a top Hollywood blockbuster. However, for a TV series, Chi Hao thought that it should at least be plus 2 points. 9 points. He had seen several domestically produced sci-fi TV series before. Some of them claimed to have invested more than 100 million yuan and invited Hollywood teams to produce them. The results were simply terrible. He didn't know how much kickbacks were taken from the special effects, it was simply terrible. Relatively speaking, the special effects production standards of domestic blockbusters were constantly improving, at least to the audience's eyes. Just this cinematics alone made Chi Hao have a strong interest in You from the Star. He and Wang Weiwei were both fans of Lu Qin, but he liked Lu Chen's pop music works and the movie A Chinese Ghost Story. He wasn't very interested in Lu Chen's Autumn in My Heart and Full House of Romance. Wang Weiwei also liked Lu Chen's songs, but it was these two TV series that she liked the most. In order to pursue Wang Weiwei, Chi Hao deliberately watched Autumn in My Heart and Full House of Romance twice. Although he thought that they were very good, he didn't like them very much. If this, You from the Star, was to his liking, then he could happily watch the show with his girlfriend, which was undoubtedly a very romantic thing. Otherwise, he would have to force himself. The next moment, the voice next to him was clearly transmitted to Chi Hao's ears through the computer speaker. My name is Lu Yuxuan, the name of Earth. I come from Gliese 581d, 20 light-years away from Earth. This is the name given to my home planet by astronomers on Earth. The time when the interstellar research spacecraft I took followed Comet Snow to Earth was 1518 AD. I will stay here as an observer on Earth, waiting for the arrival of the interstellar research spacecraft and Comet Snow 500 years later, and then return to my hometown. But on the first day I landed on Earth, I met a human, the scene changed, and the protagonist played by Lu Chen appeared as a cold alien, and then he encountered the female protagonist played by Chen Fei, a Ming Dynasty official's daughter on her way to marriage. The story slowly unfolded. Whether it was Chi Hao or Wang Weiwei, they were deeply attracted by the story that had just begun. The two leaned against each other, unaware of the passage of time. Chapter 676. At 9 p.m. on August 10, You from the Star, produced by Chen Fei Media, released the first advance trailer in the official V of its Waves blog, warming up the TV series to be broadcast on August 18. You from the Star was originally scheduled to be officially broadcast on the 15th, but due to the request made by Zhejiang Satellite TV Station and Beijing Television Station, it was postponed to Friday night, the 18th. Therefore, the trailer, which was originally scheduled to be released on the 8th, was also postponed to the 10th. The so-called advance trailer was originally a kind of non-official trailer released by a film with large investment. It was usually released 3 to 4 months or even more than a year before the film was released. The time was short and only informed the actors, director, adaptation of the novel or sequel, and rarely had a large number of film scenes. Later, it was learned by TV series. Many highly watched series also played with the same concept, and the time of the advance version was getting shorter and shorter, mainly to cooperate with the intensive publicity before the broadcast to create the momentum of the hit. Because You from the Star is a weekly drama, the advance trailer was released only 8 days in advance, but it still met the needs of countless fans who were looking forward to the new drama. You from the Star can be said to be popular before it was broadcast. Since the official V of the blog was launched, the number of fans has exceeded the 5 million mark, creating a new record for the same type of blog, and also indicating the strong audience potential. A large number of fans of Lu Chen and Chen Fei discussed the new drama in blogs, forums, and post bars, especially curious about the name, You from the Star, and there were all kinds of strange speculations on the internet. And these speculations, in turn, increased the popularity of You from the Star. But what made fans depressed was that You from the Star has been kept a very good secret since the start of filming. No information related to the plot was revealed, and even the crew of Huairou Film and Television Base refused to interview. As for the official V, they released some simple stills and shooting footage, which hooked people's hearts and did not explain, making fans very helpless and raising their appetites. There were also many media reporters who couldn't dig out any useful information, so they simply made up a story with their imagination, and then Chen Fei Media did not explain anything. This made many people in the industry speechless. When they were shooting a new drama, they couldn't wait for the media to interview them every day. Even if there weren't any reporters, they would still spend money to invite a few. Then, they would cooperate with the media to leak some inside information. They would even let the actors and actresses in the drama create scandals to make the headlines. It could be said that they had gone to great lengths. But look at Xingyu, it didn't play this game at all. Yet, there were still so many media outlets begging for it. The difference in treatment was like heaven and earth. Actually, the media was quite depressed too. Now that Xingyu had finally released its trailer, it immediately attracted people both in and out of the industry. In particular, many people in the industry wanted to see what Qinfei Media was up to this time. They wanted to see what they were up to be so secretive. They wanted to see what they were up to. This 3-minute trailer was released at 9:01 p.m. By 10 p.m. sharp, the number of views had exceeded 1 million, and the number of comments and reposts had both exceeded 100,000. It quickly climbed to the top of the homepage's trending list. Like Chi Hao and Wang Weiwei, the fans were also shocked by the male lead that was released at the beginning of the trailer. The male lead, played by Lu Qin, turned out to be an alien. As the theme of an urban romance drama, such a protagonist setting was definitely unprecedented, even if it wasn't possible in the future. Everyone also understood the meaning of the name of the TV series, You from the Star. Not just an alien, but an alien who came to Earth 500 years ago, and an alien who would return to his hometown 1 year later. The short trailer couldn't reveal too much, but everyone saw the female lead that the protagonist met for the first time, and the female lead that he met again after 500 years. A long storyline was connected in this way. So what else would happen next? Fans suddenly found that this trailer could not meet their expectations for the new show at all. The unique character setting and fresh story creativity of Xingyu pushed their expectations to a new peak. Countless fans clamored on blogs for Zhejiang Satellite TV Station and Beijing Television Station to broadcast it soon. The two satellite TV stations were at least hundreds of thousands of times. Of course, the two satellite TV stations must be very happy. However, at this juncture, Qinfei Media released news that Lu Chen and Qinfei would temporarily interrupt the filming of Xingyu and rush to Hangzhou on August 12. Because August 12 was the last episode of the first season of China's Voice, the live broadcast of the finals. Since its premiere on May 19, China's Voice has been on air for nearly 3 months, with an average rating of nearly 7%, and the highest rating once broke 9%, creating a new height of domestic variety shows that people look up to. Under the crushing of this phenomenal reality show, other domestic TV stations' variety shows that were broadcast at the same time were in a bleak situation. They have readjusted their broadcast time, and there is no doubt that they are invincible. Even Beijing Television's Singing China and Shonan TV's Super Singer, the two shows that had good ratings in the first season, did not dare to take the lead, and both revised their broadcast time. They would rather miss the golden summer vacation time than collide head-on with China's Voice. Now that China's Voice is coming to an end, it is undoubtedly good news for their peers. They can finally breathe a sigh of relief. The pressure in recent months has been too great, and Zhejiang Satellite TV Station is too glorious. What made people's hair stand on end was that Star Factory Media, which produces China's Voice, later announced that Star Factory has reached a preliminary agreement with Korea's KGS. KGS will buy the copyright of China's Voice and produce The Voice of Korea. Star Factory took this opportunity to promote the program model of China's Voice to the world. Is there any justice in this? The ratings of the domestic broadcast were already so high, and they even sold the copyright to Korea. Not to mention the copyright transaction fee, this glory alone is enough to make people envious and jealous. In the past, only Korean variety shows were imported into China, and domestic TV stations spent a lot of money to buy them. Now Star Factory Media has broken the rules and sold them back to Korea, leaving their peers 3 streets behind. With this exhilarating good news, fans looking forward to the new show no longer have any opinions about Lu Qin and Qinfei, or are rushing to produce the last episode of China's Voice. Instead, they are extremely supportive. Chapter 677. At 7 p.m. on August 12, Hangzhou, Shandong Satellite TV Station Studio 1. There was still an hour before the start of the finals of China's Voice, but the studio was already very busy. All the staff were nervously preparing for the live broadcast, and there were no vacancies among the 1,250 audience seats. Since its premiere on the 19th of May, China's Top Voice, as a unique and creative singing reality show, had already established its own brand across the country, garnering countless viewers and fans. Today was the final harvest moment. In the face of the impending farewell of the first season, the program staff of Shandong Satellite TV Station were fully committed. Every important link was repeatedly checked many times, for fear that there would be mistakes during the live broadcast, leaving behind imperfect regrets. A live broadcast was completely different from a recorded broadcast. The error tolerance was very low. Although there was a buffer of a few minutes, it was far from enough to eliminate all mistakes. It was undoubtedly a huge test for the staff of the television station. Everything was for the effect of the program. For the first time, tonight's final had introduced the voting mechanism of the television audience, so it had to be broadcast live to choose the final champion. This made the atmosphere at the scene very tense. In the backstage area of the studio, the atmosphere was much more relaxed. Since most of the students and contestants had already been eliminated, leaving only 4 contestants and 4 mentors, the huge backstage area seemed empty and lacked a lot of people. Lu Chen, Chen Fei, Shi Fang, and Liao Jia had just finished putting on their makeup and were sitting together chatting. After so many episodes of the show had been recorded, even strangers could become familiar friends, so everyone chatted more openly. It was completely an exchange between true friends. Shi Fang joked, "You two show off your love on the blog all day long. When will the date be set?" The blog she was talking about was, of course, not the Hong Kong blog, but the Waves blog. Originally, Shi Fang did not use the blog. In fact, she rarely went online. Although she had her own account on the Hong Kong blog, she usually left it to her agent to manage and basically did not interact with her fans or friends. However, after coming to China to record The Voice of China, under Chen Fei's instigation, she officially opened her own blog on Waves. The first person she followed was Chen Fei, followed by Lu Qin and Lu Gangxing. Along with the popularity of China's The Voice, she had returned to the attention of the domestic fans. The popularity of her blog increased rapidly, and in just over 2 months, it had already exceeded 30 million followers. Driven by Chen Fei, Shi Fang also learned to play a blog. From time to time, she would post some selfies or group photos, write a short paragraph of words about her life or feelings, and interact with her fans, so that her fans would often be surprised. According to the fans, compared with the former queen of Xiangjiang, the current Shi Fang was more amiable. In response to Shi Fang's teasing, Chen Fei glared at Lu Qin and said, "That depends on a certain someone." She made it sound like she was a resentful woman. Lu Qin did not know whether to laugh or cry. "I think you were the one who said that you wouldn't consider marriage for the next 2 years." For Lu Qin, his relationship with Chen Fei had reached this point. Whether it was an engagement or marriage, it would be a matter of time. With his current status in the entertainment industry, he was not afraid of losing popularity after marriage. However, Chen Fei was very ambitious and had some unspeakable concerns, so he put the topic aside for the time being. Speaking of which, this topic had been brought up by many people. Even the fans were discussing when the two of them would truly get together and make a lifelong commitment. Chen Fei pouted, "Then you'll listen to whatever I say." Liao Jia immediately laughed out loud. That was too unreasonable, wasn't it? He did not expect Chen Fei to be such a queen. Lu Qin smiled bitterly. It was really impossible to reason with a woman, especially the woman he loved deeply. The culprit who started the topic snickered and then smoothed things over. "Well, let's not talk about this. I have a very important thing to tell you, and I need your decision." Lu Chen, Chen Feier and Liao Jia's attention suddenly focused on Shifang. Everyone knew that since Shifang said so, it must be very unusual. Shifang pondered for a moment and said, "This year is the 50th anniversary of Hong Kong's return. At that time, the SAR government will hold an unprecedented celebration, including a celebration party attended by more than 100,000 people. I don't know if the three of you have time to attend." Lu Chen and the other two looked at each other. This was really a big deal. The 50th anniversary celebration party of Hong Kong's return was bound to be extremely high in both scale and specification. The star artists who could stand on this stage must be the top stars in the industry. It was impossible for those with a lower status to be invited. But what made everyone puzzled was, why was it Shifang who made the invitation and not the SAR government? Shifang obviously saw their doubts and explained with a smile, "I am a friend of Director Huang of the Department of Culture of the SAR government. She asked me to come forward and invite the three of you. If you are willing to attend and can spare time, then the government will arrange for a formal invitation. In addition, if you agree, please prepare your works, preferably related to the anniversary celebration. Also, except for the arrangements for food and accommodation, you will not be paid." So that was it. Lu Chen understood that since it was a celebration party, the SAR government must have invited a lot of entertainment industry guests. It was undoubtedly prudent to ask for their intentions before making a formal decision. After all, public invitations were not commercial performances. Many stars might not be willing to attend, even if the 50th anniversary celebration party of Hong Kong's return was extremely high in standard. What if they were unwilling? So through private communication. On the other hand, they could also see the seriousness and sincerity of the SAR government. Otherwise, they could directly call and ask. Lu Chen and Chen Fei exchanged a look. Lu Chen nodded and said, "Count me in." The significance of attending the 50th anniversary celebration party of Hong Kong's return was no less than that of attending the Spring Festival Gala. In some aspects, it was even big. He couldn't miss it. As for the payment, he didn't need that little money now. Chen Fei added with a smile, "Count me in." Liao Jia touched his nose and said, "Since you are all going, I will also join in the fun." "That's great," Shifang said with a smile, "I believe it will be a very meaningful party." Chapter 678. On the clock hanging on the wall, the hour hand gradually pointed to the position of 8:00. The live broadcast of the last episode of the first season of China's Voice was about to begin. Zhejiang Satellite TV Station Studio 1 was completely filled with a battle atmosphere. All the staff on the scene were already in place, and the 7 cameras placed in different positions were turned on at the same time. In the broadcasting room, Tian sat in her usual seat, staring intently at the computer screen. And the people around her were also staring at the monitor. It seemed that there was some immeasurable treasure inside. It broke 5%. Suddenly, someone shouted as if he had discovered a new continent, his voice full of joy. His shout was like a bucket of cold water splashed on boiling oil, and it immediately spread in the broadcasting studio. The director and the assistant staff present all cheered in unison. It was not yet time, but the real-time ratings of the satellite TV station 1 had already broken through 5%, which meant that tens of millions of viewers were sitting in front of the TV, waiting for the start of the live broadcast. What the satellite TV station was broadcasting now was an advertisement. The advertisers who bought this time slot would definitely be overjoyed. Under normal circumstances, the advertising fees they paid would be worth it if they could match 1% to 2% of the ratings. But now it was 5%. Although they all had expectations in their hearts, when the facts were presented in front of them, everyone still felt extremely surprised. That was already 5%. When the live broadcast officially began, it might be able to reach 7%, 8%, 9%. No one dared to think any more. At present, the ratings of the major TV stations' famous variety shows were generally around 2%. The performance of China's Voice was really too heaven-defying. Tonight, it would most likely create a new record. The happiest was none other than Tian Tian. For the birth of China's Voice, she had put in countless blood, sweat, and tears. She established Star Factory Media with her bare hands, recruited people everywhere, and forced herself to learn business management. In the end, when the production of the show was about to be completed, she felt like she had aged several years. Now, all her efforts had been rewarded several times or even more than 10 times. This feeling was really unparalleled, and it was as if she had suddenly become several years younger. The gradually rising real-time ratings were Tian Tian's current mood index. It had begun. At 8:00 sharp, Zhonghua Automobile's new commercial had just finished broadcasting, and the TV screen instantly switched to the opening of China's Voice. Accompanied by exciting music, the host Kai Jia appeared in a white suit, and his bright and coquettish style won warm applause and cheers from the audience. After hosting more than a dozen episodes of the show, Kai Jia had become a host whose popularity did not lose to any of the students of China's Voice. His Waves blog fans had exceeded 5 million, especially his signature advertising slogan, which had become a hot topic for everyone. China's good car, China's good voice, welcome to China's good car, China's good voice, sponsored by the leading domestic automobile brand, China. Drink the Pepsi Power supplement and cheer for China's good voice. It was still a familiar feeling, but the atmosphere of tonight's live broadcast of the finals far surpassed that of the previous elimination rounds. After more than 2 months of fierce competition, the 4 teams of Lu Qin, Chen Fei, Shifang and Liao Jia, for mentors, each decided a winner. They are Tong Xinyao, Anxin, Li Qian, and Zhang Yi. Every time Kai Jia called out a person's name, there would be a tsunami of shouts from the audience, and their exclusive fans even held up the screen with the names written on it, cheering for their respective idols. Among them, Tong Xinyao was the winner of Lu Chen's team, Anxin was from Chen Fei's team, and Li Qian and Zhang Yi were from Shifang and Liao Jia respectively. These top 4 contestants were all very young. They were originally unknown, but now they have become household names, and their fates have changed. But in the end, there was only one champion. The first part of the finals was the mentor canvassing for votes. The 4 mentors each took 4 students on stage to canvass for votes and encourage them. The first to go on stage were Lu Chen and Tong Xinyao. Tong Xinyao was a singer from Shanghai, a college student. Among the 4 students, she was undoubtedly the most good-looking. She had a slender figure and a pleasant appearance. With long hair, she was quite pure and shy. During the blind selection, all 4 mentors turned for her, and she finally chose Lu Qin. Because Tong Xinyao was good at folk songs. Therefore, the song Lu Qin chose for her was his representative work, You Who Sat Next to Me. But before singing, Lu Qin had something to say. Tong Xinyao is not the most talented singer I have ever seen, but she is definitely one of the most hardworking singers. During the time I guided and trained her, her performance was obvious to all. I want to say that people who work hard should be rewarded, so please vote for Xinyao. Thank you. As soon as Lu Chen's voice fell, Tong Xinyao bowed deeply to the audience, winning countless applause. She straightened up again and smiled at Lu Chen tacitly. Lu Chen nodded and played the prelude with his guitar. Tomorrow, will you think of the diary you wrote yesterday? Tomorrow, will you still think of the you who loved to cry the most? The teachers can't think of you, the you who can't guess the problem. I only thought of you who sat next to me when I was flipping through the photos. This song, You Who Sat Next to Me, was regarded as the most classic representative of campus folk songs by its fans. Since its creation, it had been covered by countless people, especially at university and high school cultural performances. There were often students who played and sang it themselves, often winning countless resonance. Because everyone was too familiar with it, it was difficult to sing it differently. But Tong Xinyao did it. Her interpretation of "You Who Sat Next to Me" incorporated her own emotions, with sad memories, as if she was telling her own story, inadvertently touching people's hearts. And Lu Chen had not sung this song for a long time. It was the first time he sang it with someone else. Even though they had only rehearsed it a few times, they cooperated very well with each other. When the two finished singing "You Who Sat Next to Me" together, many of the audience immediately stood up and applauded, taking the lead in setting off the first wave of climax in the studio. Such a scene also indicated that tonight's The Voice of China's finals would be a great success. In the director's room, Tian stared at the smiling Lu Chen on the monitor screen. She unwittingly fell into a daze. Chapter 679. I hereby announce that the winner of China's Voice's third place in 2016 is, in Zhejiang Satellite TV Station Studio 1, Tong Xinyao, Anxin, Li Qian, and Zhang Yi stood on the stage hand in hand, waiting for the final results. After the 4 segments of the mentors canvassing for votes, the students' ultimate challenge, the live audience voting, and the live media voting, the first season of China's Voice finally came to an end. However, it was also the most exciting segment. According to the rules of China's Voice, the first 2 rounds of live voting needed to be added to the factual votes of the national audience, and then the total score would be calculated by the computer according to the proportion, as well as the champion, second place, third place, and fourth place. The person in charge of announcing the results was naturally the show's host, Kai Jia. At this moment, he had already received a card with the names and rankings of the students, a total of 3 cards. The first to be announced was the third place. The 4 students were extremely nervous, and the 2 girls were even on the verge of tears. They stood out from the tens of thousands of contestants in the country, from the auditions all the way to the present, experiencing the cruel elimination of the team, rigorous and arduous training, and putting in unimaginable effort. Although the top 4 was already dazzling enough, who would not want to reach the top? It was no exaggeration to say that in terms of singing talent shows, China's Voice's influence had surpassed that of Shonan TV's Super Fast Girl and Superman. The first season's champion not only meant great glory, but also represented a smooth path to the bright stars. Not to mention the generous rewards that the champion could get. The eyes of the 1,250 audience were fixed on Kai Jia, and 3 cameras were pointed at the host at the same time. The studio was very quiet, until Kai Jia announced the name of the third-place winner. Tong Xinyao. Tong Xinyao, it was Lu Chen's team Tong Xinyao who won third place. She suddenly covered her face with both hands, and crystal-clear tears flowed uncontrollably from between her fingers. It was not the worst result, but of course, it was not the best either. In fact, Tong Xinyao was not surprised that she took third place, because the first 2 rounds of voting had more or less revealed this result. But she still cried, with joy and bitterness. The audience burst into thunderous applause. Anxin was the first to hug Tong Xinyao, sending her sincere blessings. Although the 2 of them were competitors, they had become very good friends during the 2 months of competition. Then it was Li Qian, Zhang Yi, and finally Lu Chen. Lu Chen walked onto the stage with a smile and opened his arms to give Tong Xinyao a hug. Congratulations. Tong Xinyao was a very well-behaved girl. She was very talented in singing. She also respected and worshipped him very much. Unfortunately, her opponents were very strong. Getting third place was her best. Tong Xinyao hugged Lu Chen tightly. Her face was pressed against his chest as she sobbed, "Thank you, Teacher Lu Chen." The cameraman gave a close-up shot in time, presenting this heartwarming scene to all the TV viewers. Another cameraman harbored ulterior motives and aimed his camera at Chen Feier. Then, the director switched the camera in time, causing many viewers to smile. It was just a program, so why would Chen Feier be jealous? Big smiles and applause for them. Broken. At the same time, there was jubilation in the director's room. Many TV station staff gathered around Tian Tian and cheered in unison. Record broken. It was a memorable moment, because the ratings of China's Voice had once again broken the record, reaching an unprecedented 10%, creating the highest record for a talent show. In fact, from the last live broadcast of China's Voice until now, everyone had expected the ratings to break the record. However, witnessing the birth of this record with their own eyes was another matter, so they were naturally particularly excited. A 10% rating was basically a myth in today's rich situation of TV programs. It was a miracle that the TV people did not even dare to think about. Of course, Central TV's Spring Festival Gala, which had a ratings of more than 90% every year, had to be excluded. This ratings record was enough to make Shandong Satellite TV stand head and shoulders above all its peers, including Shonan TV. It was also enough to shake the latter's position as the dominant local satellite TV station. On the other hand, Tian Tian was not so excited. Maybe she was too happy, but she suddenly calmed down. Breaking the record was a good thing, but at the same time, it was also a form of pressure. This year's first season was so successful, so the second season next year could not smash this golden signboard. They had to strive for excellence in the quality of the program. There were still 4 mentors who must be renewed. They were also an inseparable part of China's Voice's success. Tian Tian's thoughts drifted to the future. In the studio, the results of the counting of votes and scores continued to be announced. The runner-up is Li Qian. Li Qian was a member of Shi Fang's team. He was handsome and good at singing. He was especially good at love songs, so he was deeply loved by his fans. With his outstanding performance in China's Voice, he quickly rose to fame. It was said that there were already many entertainment agencies eyeing this student of China's Voice and actively contacting him. China's Voice had a bright spot that people inside and outside the industry appreciated, and that was that the producer, Star Factory Media, did not engage in binding contracts. The singers stood out based on their own abilities and would not be bound by any unspoken rules. In many talent shows in the past, the contestants who entered the top 10 or even the top 20 had to sign a contract with a certain company. Moreover, this rookie contract was often very harsh, resulting in many lawsuits. Star Factory Media did not do this, which could be said to have opened a new trend in the industry. Even the champion and runner-up did not have to sign a contract. Although there were also people in the industry who ridiculed Star Factory Media behind their backs, it was precisely this foolishness that allowed China's Voice to win praise from countless singers and audiences. The vast number of singers needed a fair competition environment, and all the audiences did not want to see a talent show that was riddled with shady deals. The rules of China's Voice could be said to have touched the sore spot of today's variety shows, and the positive impact it brought was great. Therefore, during the broadcast, in addition to Shandong TV station's vigorous promotion, various media outlets also gave it good reviews. The success of China's Voice was not a fluke. Now it was finally time to reveal the champion. At this time, there were still 2 students standing on the stage, Anxin and Zhang Yi. Among them, Anxin was a member of Qin Fei's team, while Zhang Yi was from Liao Jia's team. The popularity of the 2 was not much different, and each had a large number of fans. The votes in the first 2 rounds were also relatively close. In the end, it all depended on the votes of the national audience. Chapter 680. Our champion has received a total of 8715402 valid nationwide votes, Kai Jia held the last card in his hand, and his lips curled into a mysterious smile. His eyes swept over the card, and he said into the microphone, "The total score after the computer calculation is 127.55 points." The previous runner-up, Li Qian, had received more than 7 million nationwide votes, which was more than a million away from the champion. Furthermore, the nationwide votes accounted for 40% of the total score, so the advantage was obvious. But who was the champion, Anxin or Zhang Yi? The two contestants who were still standing on the stage held their breaths. Anxin even closed her eyes while Zhang Yi clenched his fists subconsciously. The entire venue was silent, as if the whole world was waiting for the result to be announced. Perhaps the atmosphere in the venue was too tense. Even Kai Jia, who loved to whet the audience's appetite, did not dare to keep them in suspense. He shouted the champion's name. Anxin. An Xan abruptly opened her eyes in disbelief. Although Kai Jia's roar was still echoing in her ears, she felt like she was dreaming. Everything was hazy and unreal. Even if great joy filled her heart, she was instinctively afraid that when she woke up from this beautiful dream, it would be for naught. Back then, Anxin had signed up for the audition for The Voice of China under the instigation of her best friend. She had never dreamed of winning the championship, because she had no power, no money, and did not have the good looks bestowed upon her by the heavens. Anxin once thought that an ordinary person like her would not be able to make it to the top in any talent show. All she wanted was to show her face on TV so that she could earn more money by singing in bars in the future. Then, she overcame all obstacles to get to where she was now, finally reaching the peak. Thank fate. Anxin bit her lips as tears streamed down her cheeks. Kai Jia continued, "Congratulations, Anxin. Congratulations to her for becoming the champion of The Voice of China." Bam. Following a muffled sound, countless streamers fell from the sky. The entire venue was filled with a tidal wave of applause, and the audience's cheers grew louder and louder. Meanwhile, the other contestant, Zhang Yi, was very disappointed, but he still congratulated Anxin politely. Chen Fei appeared on stage, giving a smile and a hug to the lucky girl. There was also a trophy that represented her honor. The cameras gave a close-up of the two of them, then another shot of Lu Qin. It was the same shot of Lu Qin hugging Tong Xinyao. "Thank you, thank you." Anxin kept thanking Chen Fei. She hugged Chen Fei tightly with tears in her eyes. That scene would forever be recorded by the cameras. With that, the first season of The Voice of China came to a close, with no regrets. Half a month later, the Voice of China concert would be held in Hangzhou. Achoo! The strange itch coming from his nose made Lu Qin suddenly sneeze, and he immediately woke up from his sleep. When he opened his eyes, the first thing he saw was Chen Fei's grinning face and the strand of hair in her hand. Lu Qin immediately became angry. Without hesitation, he reached out and hugged his mischievous girlfriend. Then, he pressed her down on his legs and slapped her buttocks twice. I was wrong. Chen Fei smiled and begged for mercy. Her coquettish look made Lu Chen's blood boil. Chen Fei felt his hardness. She giggled and escaped, "Get up and eat breakfast." Lu Chen shook his head gloomily. He washed up and came out of the bedroom. Chen Fei had already laid out breakfast on the table. The two of them were in their new home in Hangzhou. It had only been a while since they bought the house and they had not gotten used to it yet. Lu Chen sat down and took a sip of milk. He then picked up the newspapers beside him. The newspapers should have been brought back by Chen Fei when he went out to buy breakfast. They were the morning papers of Hangzhou, with the City Express and Daily Morning News that he was familiar with. The newspapers should have been brought back by Chen Fei when she went out to buy breakfast. They were all today's morning newspapers in Hangzhou, including the City Express and Daily Morning News that he was very familiar with. The headlines of the City Express were related to The Voice of China. The first season of The Voice of China came to an end. City Express headline: First season of The Voice of China ends, viewership ratings break 10%. Among them, 10% was bolded and marked in black, making it exceptionally eye-catching. As for the headline, it was mainly about the final episode of China's Voice that was broadcasted live last night. The viewership ratings had reached a new high, with the highest reaching 10.5%, setting a new record for a variety show of the same genre. He also introduced the top 4 students. On the other hand, the headline of the Daily Morning News was focused on the Voice of China's champion, Enchanting. With the title The Ordinary Enchanting, the Extraordinary Champion, as the headline, they published an exclusive interview with her. It was through this article that Lu Qin gained a good understanding of Anchanting and learned a lot about her. China's Voice was different from most other talent shows. The 4 judges, including Lu Qin, disliked their students' sensational storytelling. There was no such arrangement in the show's script, and the contestants were informed beforehand. China's Voice did not rely on such things to attract attention. It relied on the contestants' singing skills. Therefore, regardless of whether it was Lu Qin or Qin Fei, their understanding of the members of their respective teams was limited to the basic information, such as their names, ages, birthplaces, singing experience, etc., and nothing else. What do you think of her? Qin Fei spread jam on a piece of bread and passed it to Lu Qin, asking, "I think she's not bad." Lu Qin understood what Qin Fei meant. "You want to sign her?" Qin Fei rolled his eyes at him. "Why? You don't want to. She doesn't lack contracts at the moment." China's viewership ratings were so high. The champion's popularity was undeniable. If Qin Fei Media did not sign her, others would definitely fight over her. Qin Fei added, "She's very smart. She told me last night that she wants to sign with us." Lu Qin smiled. Qin Fei was right. Anchanting was very smart. She knew very well that with her external conditions, if she signed with another company and couldn't come up with any good work, it would be easy for her to lose her championship popularity. Anchanting's average looks meant that she would never be able to walk the path of a youth idol. On the other hand, those who were truly talented relied on their outstanding works to pave the way. Therefore, the wisest choice for her was Qin Fei Media. That was because Qin Fei Media had Lu Qin. "Then let's sign it." Lu Qin stuffed the bread into his mouth and started enjoying his breakfast. By signing Anchanting, his and Qin Fei's trip to Hangzhou would come to a successful conclusion. Chapter 681. On the 13th of August, Lu Qin and Qin Fei returned to capital city. In the past few months, due to the filming of China's Voice, in addition to other work matters, the two of them had flown back and forth between capital city and Hangzhou more than a dozen times. Even Lu Qin was tempted to buy a private jet. Although the transportation between Beijing and Hangzhou was very convenient, with many flights and high-speed trains, as idols and celebrities, there were always various inconveniences when they went out. Some of their fans were quite resourceful and could always find out about the two's travel information in advance. They would then run to the airport to chase after their idols, and even if they took the VIP exit, they would inevitably be blocked. As for Lu Qin and Qin Fei, they had always been very easygoing and close to their fans. Therefore, whenever a fan came to pick them up, they would always ask for a photo or something. In the end, it attracted even more fans, causing the two of them to feel a little inconvenienced. It would be much more convenient if they had a private jet. Unfortunately, the domestic air traffic control was very strict, and the procedures to apply for a flight route were complicated and time-consuming. Even if Lu Qin could afford a private jet, it would still be troublesome to use it on a daily basis. It was not only those crazy fans who chased after their idols, but the cooked duck was also in trouble. They're not satisfied with the contract. On the second day back in capital city, Lu Chen received a call from Lu Shi at the Huiro studio. He was a little surprised. His sister was just talking to him about signing a contract with Anshin. Anshin won the championship of China's Voice as a member of Chen Fei's team. According to the show's initial promotion, apart from a generous bonus, she would also have the opportunity to sign a contract with Chen Fei Media. Moreover, Anshin had previously expressed her desire to sign a contract with Chen Fei Media. That was easy to understand. Although Chen Fei Media had only been established for a short period of time, it was already very famous in the industry. With two big names in the industry, Lu Chen and Chen Fei, it was undoubtedly a lucky thing for a new artist to sign a contract with them. Especially Lu Chen, who had created so many outstanding works, he seemed to be the new godfather of pop music. As long as he stayed in the industry long enough and produced more works, he would definitely be honored. With such a foundation, an ex-AN was willing to sign the contract, and Lu Chen and Chen Fei had a good impression of this hard-working singer. It should have been a matter of time before the contract was signed. How could this be? Lu Chen was not in a good mood. It wasn't that Anshin wouldn't be a great loss to Chen Fei Media, but it didn't feel right. Lu Shi said, her agent is not easy to deal with. He made a lot of requests. I summed it up. It's almost the treatment of an A-list star. We also have to give her an independent studio affiliated with the company. Lu Chen was speechless. In order to expand its scale and strength, Chen Fei Media had changed its development strategy of not signing new artists, and began to attract excellent talents to join it. There were also several outstanding rookies in the company. Different from those entertainment agencies that wanted to suck the marrow out of their artists, Chen Fei Media's contracts for artists were not harsh. The treatment was above average, and the personal restrictions were very lenient. Even if the artists broke the contract and left, they didn't need to pay much, and they had a high degree of freedom. On the one hand, it was because neither Lu Chen nor Chen Fei needed to make money by exploiting newcomers. If they worked together, they would come and go. If they didn't, they would go. Although this approach may not be commercial or professional enough, Lu Chen thought that Chen Fei Media should be a humane company. When Lu Chen first made his debut, he had also been asked to sign a harsh contract. He didn't want Chen Fei Media to become the object of his disgust. The contract given to an ex-AN was not a contract for newcomers, but a more advanced agency contract with better conditions. But it was rejected. He thought for a moment and said, "You can't force her to do it. Since we can't reach an agreement, let's give up." Lu Shi was regretful. Actually, an ex-AN is not bad. The problem is that her agent. Sigh, forget it. She was now in Hangzhou and had been in contact with an ex-AN for a long time, so she had some understanding of her. As the champion of the Voice of China, an ex-AN was now very popular. Her blog followers had exceeded 5 million, and many recording companies and agencies had offered her an olive branch. This was undoubtedly the reason why her agent dared to negotiate with Chen Fei Media. After hanging up the phone, Lu Chen couldn't help shaking his head. Chen Fei, who was sitting next to him, asked, "What's wrong? Is there a problem with an ex-AN?" Lu Chen nodded and briefly explained the situation. Chen Fei was speechless. She had been in contact with Anshin for the longest time, and she had a good impression of this simple-looking, hard-working, and talented girl. Therefore, she was happy to sign Anshin on. But now, she felt like she had been given the cold shoulder. However, it wasn't something unbelievable. People change, especially in the big pool of the entertainment industry. Once you enter it, you would change very quickly. Back then, an ex-AN was just an unknown singer. Now, she was as popular as a second or third-tier celebrity. It was normal for her to ask for better treatment when the Voice of China was at its peak. Even if she didn't have much of an opinion, the agent who had taken the commission would not let it go. Then forget it. Chen Fei also felt that it was a pity, but she didn't raise the offer to satisfy the agent. It wasn't that Lu Qin and Chen Fei were stingy, but an Xan's popularity was only temporary. Her flaws were very obvious, and they had to pay a higher price to bring her to new heights. For Chen Fei, there was no need for that. Asterisk ring 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 asterisk. As a result, as soon as Chen Fei's voice fell, her private cell phone rang. It was Anshin who had called her. Chen Fei picked up the phone, and after a few minutes, she hung up. Lu Chen asked with a smile, "What did she say?" Chen Fei said lazily, "Not much. First, she apologized. She hoped that we could satisfy some of her conditions. She also said that her agent is her distant cousin. Anyway, forget it." She threw the phone away, as if throwing away a burden. Although Chen Fei had always presented herself as a kind and gentle person, deep down, she was very proud. Even though an Xan had called to apologize, she still felt bitterly disappointed. She felt that she had wasted a lot of her feelings. Then give it up. Lu Chen understood and held his girlfriend's hand to comfort her. At the same time, he put the matter to the back of his mind. But to his surprise, the trouble had only just begun. Chapter 682. In modern society, the internet was extremely developed. Due to the large number of people gathered online, it was inevitable that it would become a place of controversy. Blogs were undoubtedly the city god's temple. The city god's temple in most cities was bustling with activity. In China, Wave's blog was undoubtedly the most popular, with tens of millions of netizens reading the blog every day. Blogs and the entertainment industry had a natural connection, attracting celebrities from all walks of life. Big and small entertainment news, scandals were all exposed on the blog for the celebrity to comment on. As a result, a group of VIPs and marketing accounts that specialized in entertainment was born. For example, entertainment world's #1 paparazzi Zhang Wide, That Little Thing in the Entertainment World, Daily Gossip, etc., were all well-known blog accounts. On the 15th of August, a verified account, Entertainment Detective, with 7.6 million plus fans, revealed on his blog that the winner of China's Voice, an Xan, had a falling out with Lu Qin and Chen Fei, and refused to sign with Chen Fei Media. This piece of gossip shocked those who did not know the truth, and it quickly made its way to the top of the homepage. The first season of China's Voice had just ended a few days ago, and there would be a concert at the end of the month. It was absolutely shocking that the winner, an Xan, had a falling out with the two famous mentors at that time. Many people first suspected that it was fake news. In the show, an Xan had a good relationship with her mentor, Chen Fei. The former's performance was also praised and acknowledged by Lu Qin. Why would she suddenly fall out with them? Furthermore, why would an Xan refuse to sign with Chen Fei Media? The countless questions confused people. Many fans tagged Lu Qin and Chen Fei for answers, while some impulsive fans went straight to an Xan's blog to scold her. From their point of view, an Xan had a falling out with Lu Qin and Chen Fei, and that was definitely her fault. Ungrateful. An Xan had many fans as well, and the two sides started a war of words on the blog, turning the world upside down. However, soon after, a blogger with the ID of Anshin's agent posted an article saying that the entertainment detective was not telling the truth. Anshin did not have a falling out with Chen Fei or Lu Qin. They merely had a disagreement over the contract. Then, Anshin stood up and said that Lu Qin and Chen Fei were her most respected mentors, and that it was ridiculous to say that she had fallen out with them. Regardless of whether she could sign with Chen Fei Media in the future, she was very grateful for their help. Anshin and her agent's statement had calmed down the storm of public opinion that had been stirred up by the entertainment detective. However, people had new questions. What kind of contract did Chin Fei Media give Anshin that made her want to say something but stop herself from doing so? Was the contract too harsh? That was entirely possible. Entertainment agencies had always been very strict with their artists, especially new artists. As a result, there had been a lot of lawsuits and it had become a hot topic. People thought that if Anshin had been offered a good contract by Chin Fei Media, there was no reason for her to turn it down. All of a sudden, the voices of sympathy and support for Anshin soared, and the number of her fans increased by more than 1 million. Among them, there were also a lot of V accounts that were stirring up trouble and criticizing Chin Fei Media. As the saying goes, public opinion can melt gold, and Chin Fei Media was pushed to the teeth of the storm. Anshin's agent is called Wang Han. She's not her real cousin. The Waves blog was in an uproar, and Lu Chen and Chin Fei got the news that night. You from the Star was about to premiere, and in order to ensure the quality of the show, the two of them spent most of their time on the set. They even turned off their phones when they were working. It was Lu Shi who went to Huairo's studio to tell them about the news. Her sister came back to the capital that morning, and she got the news as soon as she could. She did some research on the rumors and had a basic understanding of what was going on behind the scenes. Nothing was new under the sun. It was hard to keep secrets in the entertainment industry from everyone. Chin Fei Media was expanding its network in the entertainment industry, so someone sent the news directly to them. Anshin's agent, Wang Han, was an experienced agent who had been in the entertainment industry for more than 10 years. She had worked for many stars and artists, so she was very experienced and difficult to deal with. She claimed to be Anshin's distant cousin, and Anshin also kept this relationship a secret. Therefore, Lu Shi, who had been negotiating the contract in Hangzhou, was unprepared and suffered a loss. On the way back, Lu Shi asked someone to investigate Wang Han. Wang Han's agent was Xinhua Agency in the capital, which was also a very famous company in the industry. Now that they knew Wang Han's real identity, the question was answered. Xinhua Agency was behind this. I know Xinhua Agency. Chin Fei said. They didn't sign her directly. I think they're trying to help Anshin get more attention. Xinhua Agency was a professional agency, or more precisely, an agent management company. They signed agents, not stars. They got paid through the services of the agents. In the entertainment industry, Xinhua Agency was a well-known brand. Many stars' agents were affiliated with Xinhua Agency, so they had a good reputation. However, for entertainment film and television companies, Xinhua Agency's agent was undoubtedly a synonym for being difficult to deal with. They're a typical example of a prostitute who still wants to maintain a chastity. Lu Shi said angrily, they're trying to act like they're the big shots, but they're pretending to be innocent and trying to get more attention. That's just, her sister couldn't say anything more vicious. Lu Chen and Chin Fei looked at each other. They both felt a headache coming on. Encountering such an experienced professional broker was the most troublesome thing, and the other party was very targeted, that is, to use Chin Fei Media, or more accurately, Lu Chen and Chin Fei as a stepping stone, to promote Anshin to the top. Xinhua Agency's profit came from the commission. The more they hyped up Anshin, the more they would earn after the sale. The contract offered by Chin Fei Media would definitely not be able to satisfy their appetite. Strictly speaking, this outcome had something to do with Lu Chen himself. He was the one who came up with the new rules for China's Voice. If not for Xiao Sui's rule that stipulated that the top 4 and even the shortlisted contestants had to sign the contract first, they would not be in this mess today. In the entertainment industry, good people might not always be rewarded. In fact, it was very simple to resolve this dispute. All they had to do was to satisfy Wang Han's request, and everyone would be happy. Xinhua Agency was probably thinking about this as well. However, Lu Chen had no intention of letting them have their way. Chapter 683. For the public opinion storm that appeared on the internet, whether it was Chin Fei Media, or Lu Chin and Chin Fei, they all adopted a cold response strategy, that is, they did not respond for the time being and waited for the follow-up development of the situation. After all, Anshin and her agent, as the parties involved, have already come out to explain. The dirty water can't be poured on Chin Fei Media. No matter how they respond at this time, they may fall into the calculation of the behind-the-scenes manipulator. The entertainment industry is full of ups and downs. Many star artists, in order to hype up, it can be said that they will do anything. Under the planning of the agency, many things are unimaginable. As the most popular stars in the entertainment industry at present, Lu Chen and Chin Fei have been blackmailed and freeloaded by others. If they are serious about it, they will be exhausted to death and will fall into the other party's trap. Therefore, unless the situation is serious, it is the best choice to wait and see. The direction of public opinion on the internet changes very quickly. Today's hot topic may not be relevant tomorrow. In addition, the first episode of You from the Star, which has been produced, will premiere on Beijing Television and Zhejiang Satellite TV station. For the sake of safety, Chin Fei Media is not willing to make trouble. However, as the saying goes, the tree wants peace, but the wind will not stop. By the next day, the criticism against Chin Fei Media not only did not disappear, but also became more and more intense. Some people spread the remarks of Chin Fei Media suppressing newcomers in the Tieba forum, saying that Anshin was threatened because of the signing of the contract and may have to withdraw from the concert at the end of the month. This completely groundless rumor quickly spread to the blog and was forwarded by many marketing accounts. This time, neither Anshin nor her agent came out to refute the rumor at the first time. In addition, the silence of Chin Fei Media and Lu Chin gave people a feeling that something really happened. Lu Shi, who is in charge of Chin Fei Media in Beijing, received countless calls. Some called to express concern, some asked about the truth, and most of them were media who wanted to interview her, which made her anxious. In desperation, Lu Shi could only go to Huairou Film and Television City in person to discuss with Lu Chin and Chin Fei, who were filming. "I'm sure that Sin Yu is behind this," the elder sister gritted her teeth and said, "They must be plotting something." After understanding the development of the situation, Lu Chin frowned and asked, "Is Sin Yu that powerful?" He had already seen all kinds of rumors circulating on Waves' blog. Coupled with some Tieba forums, it had caused quite a stir. Moreover, it involved a lot of media outlets, marketing accounts, blogs, and so on. If Senyu was the mastermind behind all of this, then the price they paid would definitely not be low. Was it worth it? To be honest, Lu Chen's side had been maintaining restraint and forbearance. It was basically impossible for this level of rumors to hurt him and Chin Fei Media. Lu Chen believed that as long as he made a public statement, it would be enough to reverse the situation. He had such confidence. However, if the opponent continued to pester him endlessly, it would be very troublesome. Lu Chen did not like to be stuck in this kind of quagmire. A man would never be able to defeat a pig in the mud, because that was the latter's home ground. Sen Yu was undoubtedly a pig covered in mud. Lu Shi said in a deep voice, "I have a detailed understanding of Sen Yu. They are very difficult to deal with and have a lot of connections with the media. However, it's not just them who are stirring up trouble. Some of the rumors or online IDs against Lu Chin or Chin Fei Media had little to do with Sen Yu. The reason why they were involved in this matter, except for a few guys who like to make trouble out of nothing, most of them should be due to jealousy or dissatisfaction with Chin Fei Media. Chin Fei Media was established by Lu Chin. Although it had been established for a short time, it already had a great reputation in the industry and was constantly expanding. For example, Chin Fei Media originally did not sign people, but now they began to sign people, and they were very competitive. This inevitably made some people in the industry feel threatened. They were not sure that they could beat Chinfei Media in the competition, so they could only play small tricks behind the scenes and take the opportunity to cause trouble for Chinfei Media. That was why there were so many unfavorable comments about Chinfei Media on the internet. A tall tree attracts the wind. After several analyses, Lu Chen really understood. He thought about it and said, "Then I'll make a statement. Tolerance was only temporary." Since the other party had stepped on his head, continuing to tolerate would make others think that he was really in the wrong, so he had to fight back. Of course, how to fight back was about strategy. Scolding each other was the worst strategy. Letting the public know the truth and protecting one's reputation also required skills. Lu Shi said, "It's better for the company to make a statement first. I'll discuss with the public relations department how to write it." After the establishment of Chinfei Media, the first to expand and enrich its strength was the public relations department. For star artists, especially big stars, a strong public relations team was indispensable behind the scenes. Some stars had suffered this kind of loss. In the face of emergencies, they did not respond properly, and as a result, they were ruined. Chinfei Media not only had two big stars, Lu Chen and Chinfei, but also had super popular project management. The public relations department was undoubtedly one of the most important departments. Lu Chen nodded. Okay. At this time, Lu Shi's phone rang again. She had been using her phone all day. She had given the one to her assistant to contact her work. This phone was for internal communication, so it must be someone from the company. Lu Shi immediately picked up the phone and said a few words to the other party before hanging up. She looked very unhappy. She said to Lu Chen angrily, "Anshin's agent just came to our company. She wants to talk to us face to face. I'll ask the people from the company to entertain her. Should we meet her or not?" Lu Chen and Chinfei looked at each other. Chinfei sneered. "Is she here to tell us the truth?" She thought that she had done everything she could to take care of Anshin, but the result was that she was disappointed. How could she not be angry? Lu Chen thought for a while and said, "Fei, you stay here and continue to shoot the next scenes. I'll go back with my sister." Since the other party had come to him, he couldn't run away. He also wanted to see what the other party wanted. Chinfei nodded. Okay. She believed that Lu Chen would be able to handle it well. Therefore, Lu Chen and Lu Shi went back to the company to meet Anshin's agent. Chapter 684. In the reception room of Chinfei Media's headquarters, Lu Chen and Lu Shi met Anshin's agent, Wang Han. Lu Chen originally thought that Wang Han was a shrewd, tough, and standard professional elite dressed in office lady attire. Maybe she wore a pair of gold-rimmed glasses, spoke aggressively, and had a tough and tenacious personality. But when he saw her in person, he found that there was a huge gap between his imagination and reality. Wang Han was in her 30s. She was petite and about 1.6 meters tall at most. She was quite pretty. It was hard to be guarded against such a woman. But Lu Chen wouldn't look down on her because of that. She must have some ability to make Anshin fall in love with her. Wang Han didn't come alone. There was a young man with her. The man in a suit and leather shoes looked like a real business elite. He was clean-shaven and wore cologne. His young face was full of confidence. He wasn't afraid at all when facing Lu Chen. Instead, he was eager to have a try. Through the introduction, Lu Chen learned that the man was the deputy director of the brokerage department of Sinua Company. His name was Gao Shan. Lu Shi was in a bad mood today, so she got straight to the point. "Miss Wang, now that you've met me and Lu Chen, you can tell me what you want." Lu Shi had a competition with Wang Han in Hangzhou City. She didn't like Anshin's agent at all. Wang Han smiled. Boss Lu, I'm here to talk about Miss Anshin's contract. Miss Anshin actually wants to sign a contract with your company. She admires Mr. Lu Qin and Miss Qin Fei very much. She's very grateful for your help. She just wants to be treated fairly. Lu Shi sneered. She thinks that our original contract is unfair to her. Wang Han smiled but didn't say anything. Gao Shan, who was sitting next to her, took out a prepared document and said loudly, Boss Lu, we think that your company has seriously underestimated Miss Anshin's commercial value. The original contract doesn't match her status. This evaluation report proves, sorry, your evaluation report is of no use to us. Before he finished speaking, he was interrupted by Lu Qin. Signing a contract is a voluntary thing. We, Qinfei Media, will not force anyone to sign a contract. I don't think there's anything wrong with the original contract. If Miss Anshin can't accept it, we can only express our regret. I believe she will find a better choice. As for help, Lu Qin smiled. Actually, Miss Anshin doesn't owe me or Miss Qin Fei anything. Miss Anshin participated in a TV show, and she deserves what she got. You don't need to feel guilty. So, I guess we have nothing to talk about. Wang Han and Gao Shan were both stunned. It could be said that the two of them came with great momentum. They were fully prepared in advance, and they were also prepared to have a fierce battle with Qinfei Media to fight for the greatest benefits for their side. However, Lu Qin didn't want to talk at all. It was like they had rolled up their sleeves to go all out at the gambling table, but the opponent directly flipped the table. It was such a bad feeling. Gao Shan's face suddenly became gloomy. Mr. Lu Qin, this is not a friendly negotiation. Miss Anshin really hopes, she is she, and I am me. Gao Shan's words were interrupted again by Lu Qin. I wish her a bright future. Don't waste your time. Although it was a little impolite, Lu Qin really found it funny. Lu Shi had clearly expressed her refusal on behalf of Qinfei Media, but the other side still pestered them. Did they think that they could force Qinfei Media to compromise by stirring up trouble on the internet? Or did Xinyu think that Qinfei Media couldn't do without Anshin? What a joke. Lu Qin didn't know why they were so confident. Gao Shan's face was as black as the bottom of a pot. He said unhappily, Mr. Lu Qin, have you thought it through? Lu Qin waved his hand as if he was shooing away a fly. Goodbye. At this point, Wang Han and Gao Shan couldn't stay any longer no matter how shameless they were. They had to stand up and leave. When she walked to the door, Wang Han stopped and turned around to say to Lu Qin, Mr. Lu Qin, actually we can talk about it and strive for a win-win result. Lu Qin didn't even bother to look at her face. Wang Han sighed and walked away sulkily. After Sinyu's people left, Lu Qin said to Lu Shi, Sister, let's issue a statement right now to end this matter. Also, scan the contract for Anshin and submit it. Since the negotiation had failed, he might as well cut the Gordian knot. He didn't have time to waste on them. Lu Shi replied without hesitation, okay. When Lu Shi went to the Public Relations Department to draft the statement, Wang Han and Gao Shan returned to their car. Gao Shan threw the document in his hand on the back seat angrily and said, Does he really think he's so arrogant? Without Butcher Zhang, we can only eat pigs with fur. Wang Han sat in the front passenger seat and said thoughtfully, Looks like we made a mistake. Lu Qin was right. Xinyu did think that Qinfei Media wouldn't let Anshin off so easily. Their judgment was based on common sense in the entertainment industry. China's Voice was produced by Star Factory Media, and Qinfei Media was behind Star Factory Media. There was no reason for them to let go of their popular stars. From Sinyu's point of view, not forcing Anshin to sign a contract was just a gimmick for the show. Qinfei Media must be very confident that they could rely on their influence on the contestants to win. They saw this opportunity to interfere. Their ultimate goal was not to compete with Chin Fei Media, but to gain benefits through Chin Fei Media. At the end of the day, Anshin was just a tool used by Xinyu. The hype on the internet was just to increase the influence of this tool. Unexpectedly, Chin Fei Media didn't buy it and didn't pay much attention to Anshin. Their attitude was completely indifferent, which made Wang Han realize that they had made a mistake. However, as Gao Shan said, Xinyu and Wang Han had other options. It was fine if Chin Fei Media didn't get what they wanted, but they could still squeeze enough benefits from Anshin. After all, she was popular. Wang Han looked at the headquarters of Chin Fei Media unwillingly and ordered, "Let's go back to the hotel." Next, she had to convince Anshin to negotiate with another entertainment company. The other party's offer was more sincere than Chin Fei Media's. Chapter 685. Wang Han stayed in a 5-star hotel in the capital and booked a business suite specifically for Anshin. After winning the championship of China's Voice, Anshin's net worth soared. She went from an unknown singer in a bar to a popular talent show star in the entertainment industry. Her life immediately changed. Now, she not only had her own manager and assistant, she was driven to and fro by luxury cars. Her commercial appearances cost as much as $500,000 and her advertising contract was basically comparable to that of a B-list celebrity. In terms of image, Xinyu, which was represented by Wang Han, came up with a complete package for Anshin. As a well-known professional management company in the industry, Xinyu's foresight was undoubtedly very shrewd. When China's Voice started to gain popularity in the country, they had already targeted a few potential rookies and successfully signed an exclusive contract with Anshin. Fortunately, they managed to seize the opportunity. However, Xinyu was not an entertainment media company. They only took Anshin's manager position to sell her at a high price, or even to use her as a cash cow in the long run. It should be said that it was Lu Chen's stubbornness that gave Xinyu such an opportunity. However, Xinyu was not grateful to Lu Chen. Instead, they used Anshin as a trump card, intending to dig out more benefits from Chin Fei Media. That was why they spared no effort in creating hype on the internet. In a sense, they did a good job, forcing Lu Chen to come forward in person. However, Lu Chen flipped the table. Therefore, Wang Han and Gao Shan returned to the hotel with a sense of defeat. How did it go? Anshin was in the room with her assistant. Seeing the two of them, she immediately got up and asked them. Ever since she rejected the contract offered by Lu Xi in Hangzhou, Anshin had been feeling uneasy. Her uneasiness was first of all guilt. She felt that she had let down Lu Chen, who had always appreciated her, and Chin Fei, who had taken care of her. Moreover, Anshin knew that signing with Chin Fei Media was definitely a good thing for her. However, she was persuaded by Wang Han. Wang Han's reasoning was very straightforward and naked. If you don't look out for yourself, heaven and earth will destroy you. It was one thing to be grateful to Lu Chen and Chin Fei, but it was another thing to sign a contract and sell yourself. The speed at which celebrities were eliminated in the entertainment industry was very fast. Even though she was very popular now, no one would pay attention to her in a few months. If she didn't take advantage of the boom to sell herself for a good price, it would be unrealistic to hope for the long term. Putting everything else aside, Anshin should be well aware of her own weaknesses. Who could guarantee that Chin Fei Media would support her to the end? Anshin was speechless. Therefore, she listened to Wang Han's suggestion and did exactly what the latter wanted. Of course, in Anshin's mind, as long as the conditions were right, Chin Fei Media was the best choice. She was already restless waiting in the hotel. Wang Han and Gao Shan looked at each other. Gao Shan coughed and said, "It's over. Lu Chen doesn't want to sign it." Anshin's face darkened. Was it really over? Wang Han hurried to comfort her. It's okay. It's Xinfei Media's loss if they don't sign it. You've seen the contract offered by Machen Entertainment. We have better options. Machen Entertainment was a new company established 2 years ago. The boss behind it was a big real estate developer in the capital. He was very rich and had signed many celebrities in the past 2 years. Machen Entertainment's contract was indeed better than Xinfei Media's, but the specific terms were much harsher than Xinfei Media's. There were more restrictions on Anshin. Machen Entertainment was undoubtedly the best choice apart from Xinfei Media. The other companies were much weaker. And Xian nodded, feeling much more at ease. She thought that since Xinfei Media had taken the initiative to give up on her, she had nothing to feel guilty about. Sister Wang, Sisterin, at this time, the assistant sitting on the sofa with a laptop said timidly, Xinfei Media just made an announcement. It has something to do with us. What? Wang Han, Anshin and Gao Shan were all shocked. Wang Han hurried to grab the laptop. She had a faint feeling that something was wrong. Xinfei Media's official announcement was made a few minutes ago. In the announcement, Xinfei Media first clarified the many false rumors circulating on the internet. They would entrust a lawyer to issue a warning to those who spread malicious rumors. They also had the right to use legal means to protect their reputation. In addition, Xinfei Media expressed that due to differences, Xinfei Media would not sign the contract with the champion of China's voice, Anshin. At the same time, they sent their blessings to Anshin. At the end of the announcement, there were 7 high-definition pictures attached. They were the scanned contract text for Anshin. Xinfei Media's official announcement immediately caused a stir on the blog. The first half of the announcement was very official. It was a common routine. Everyone was already used to it and it was just to express their attitude. They could not take it seriously. However, the second half was very interesting. First, they confirmed that they would not sign Anshin. It could be considered as an end to the incident. Then, they posted the contents of the contract. That was very unusual. It seemed that no media or entertainment company had ever done this before. That was because for film and television media and entertainment companies, artists' contracts were confidential. Unless it was a lawsuit, it could not be leaked. Xinfei Media's actions were thought-provoking. Outsiders in the industry were just there to watch the show. However, those in the industry would have to study it carefully. That was equivalent to Xinfei Media leaking their internal business secrets to the public. Soon, there were industry insiders on Waves who made a detailed analysis. First of all, the contract was obviously not a newcomer's contract. Be it the signing fee or the percentage, it was about the standard of a second or third-tier artist. It was not very generous, but it was not harsh, not to mention being exploited. This industry insider expressed that compared to Anshin's current popularity, the terms of the contract were slightly lower. However, even though the terms were lower, there were surprisingly few restrictions on signing artists. The simplest one was the breach fee, which was only a mere 3 million. That was the conscience of the industry. Normally, it would be more like a 0. Especially in recent years, there were more and more lawsuits between artists and their companies. The breach fee was generally higher as the contract was signed. It was to prevent artists from job hopping or going solo. It was understandable that Anshin did not sign such a contract. However, Xinfei Media could not be said to be unkind. It was very kind. Chapter 686. In the business suite 1908 of the Regent Hotel in Beijing, the atmosphere was depressing. Wang Han, Gao Shan, and the rest of Sinyu's staff did not expect Xinfei Media to fight back by exposing the contract. Not only did they flip the table, but they also smashed the pot. As a result, Anshin was in a very awkward situation. She could neither deny the truth nor defend herself. She had already said what she said earlier. She could not jump out and question Chinfei Media or start a fight now, could she? It would be stupid to ruin her own image when she was in the wrong. The best response was silence, acquiescing to the truth and letting the matter go. It would disappear in a few days anyway. Hot topics in the entertainment industry could not last long. To Anshin, she and Wang Han did not gain any advantage after playing so many tricks. They even offended Chinfei Media for no reason. Even their comments on the internet were not good. Many fans were questioning whether Anshin was too greedy. There were also many who said she was ungrateful. It was easy to change the direction of public opinion. Chinfei Media's official account showed the original contract. While clarifying the truth, it was undoubtedly a slap in the face to those who stirred up trouble and spread rumors. Stop talking nonsense. Of course, there were also people who were not satisfied and questioned the authenticity of the contract. After all, the scanned image could be easily forged. However, Lu Chen spoke up. Since Anshin's contract signing scandal, Lu Chen and Chinfei had been silent. They claimed that they were busy with the filming of You from the Star and refused all interviews from the media. It was inevitable that many people thought there was something fishy going on. However, Lu Chen did not say anything. It was not because he was afraid, but because he was waiting for the right time to strike. Now he was fighting back. 2 hours after the announcement of Chinfei Media's statement, Lu Chen updated his blog post on his personal blog. In the blog, he first praised Anshin as a very hardworking and talented singer. He expressed regret that Anshin rejected the contract offered by Chinfei Media and wished Anshin could achieve greater success in the music industry. Then, Lu Chen mentioned The Voice of China, a talent show that had created a viewership record. Only then did everyone realize that the idea and concept for The Voice of China came from Lu Chen's hands. Furthermore, he had applied for patents all over the world and even reached an agreement with Korea's KBS television station to sell the copyrights. Similarly, the basic rules of The Voice of China were also set by Lu Chen. In terms of the program's rules, China's The Voice could be said to have subverted the norm in the industry by not forcing the contestants to sign a contract, giving the students of The Voice the most freedom. Lu Chen recalled that when he had just started out in the entertainment industry, he had been faced with an extremely harsh artist contract. Do not do to others what you do not want them to do to you. That was why he had made such a decision, even if many people objected to it. Although this had caused a storm, he did not have any regrets. For the second season of China's The Voice next year, there will be no changes to the rules. Chinfei Media and Star Factory Media will definitely not be tied to any contracts. Even if an outstanding singer already has a contract, they will still receive the fairest treatment on the stage of China's The Voice. This was the promise Lu Chen made at the end of his blog post. This blog post of his was undoubtedly the best interpretation of Chinfei Media's previous statement, clarifying the truth. In fact, it was very clear when everyone thought about it. Chinfei Media could have easily used a light contract to sign an Exan during the process of the talent show. Presumably, an Exan would not have been able to reject it. If that was the case, why would they need to use such a harsh contract to sign someone when the champion was already taken? There was no such stupid logic. The truth was also easily understood. A lot of people were actually misled by the comments on the internet, causing them to overlook the simplest logic. It was only now that it was exposed that they were suddenly enlightened. As for Lu Chen's fans, they were all overwhelmingly supporting him. How stupid do you have to be to think that Chen, is bullying the newcomers? Chen, and Chinfei, deserve to die for spreading rumors. My Chen and Chinfei are really generous. Who else could have done better? It's just that someone is too greedy. To think I even voted for someone. Tui. I told you, Chen, can support whoever I want. There are a lot of people crying and begging to sign a contract with me. The truth is clear. I will always support my Chin. Really, the support for Lu Chin was reciprocated with a lot of hatred for Anaxayan. Many fans stopped following Anaxayan, causing her blog to lose tens of thousands of fans in just half an hour. And this was just the beginning. Then someone tagged Tong Xiniao, Li Qian, and Zhang Yi on the blog, asking them if they would sign the same contract if Qinfei Media offered them. Li Qian and Zhang Yi did not respond, because they had already signed the contract. It was really inconvenient for them to respond. Only Tong Xiniao replied, "Of course I'm willing." Unfortunately, Lu Chen and Qinfei don't like me. She even added an aggrieved emoticon, which was very cute. Of course, she was joking. But Qinfei replied immediately, "Nonsense. Come to my company tomorrow to sign the contract." Wow! This time, the fans went crazy, especially Tong Xiniao's fans. It was simply inexplicably exciting. Was it real or fake, or was Qinfei also joking? Tong Xiniao could not believe it. Qinfei, really? Qinfei, of course it's true. The same contract. If you're willing, come and sign it tomorrow. In the end, she also tagged Lu Qin. Lu Qin replied, "Unconditionally support Qinfei." The interaction between the two parties amused the fans. At this point, there was no longer any doubt that Qinfei Media was really going to sign Tong Xiniao. This was originally a chance for Anaxayan. Tong Xiniao was the runner-up of The Voice of China. Her singing skills were not as good as Anaxayan's, and her performance in the finals was also slightly worse, so she only got third place. However, in terms of appearance, Tong Xiniao was definitely better than Anaxayan. She had a lot of fans. Of course, there were also many entertainment agents who had their eyes on Tong Xiniao and wanted to sign her. However, Tong Xiniao did not agree immediately. She was still wavering between her studies and the entertainment industry. In addition, she was also worried that she would fall into a trap and lose control. After all, there were too many scandals in the entertainment industry in recent years, and disputes between artists and their contracted companies were frequent. Tong Xiniao's family was wealthy, and there was no urgent need to change her lifestyle. Naturally, she had to make a rational choice. However, if Qinfei Media wanted to sign her, it was a different matter. Tong Xiniao was, of course, very willing. You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.